Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission, opening at 7:01 p.m. It's April 25th, and this is Katie Grace Studley. I'm acting chair for Tracy Sharkey, who is absent. I'll go around the room for roll call vote.
Eric Harris here.
Mark Montman here.
Mike Greco here.
Mark Mungem here.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to go through the agenda in numerical order of agenda items, and we're going to start out with the orders to be signed. And I will immediately defer that to later in the meeting, and we can go through and look at and sign those orders. Number 2 is meeting minutes. I'm going to defer that to Art because I did not look at any of these. Did you have a chance to look at some since last month?
I did do 2.
Okay.
August 2nd. Which didn't list the,
It's not in here, right?
We don't have any of them in this packet, but we have gotten them
last time
correct.
for us to review. So you'll have to, I left it with my stuff so I could go over. But anyway, August 2nd is missing a roll call.
Okay.
And Mark and Eric will be absent from my notes. So I think it needs to be,
And so it should reflect that.
reflect that.
Okay.
And also, in the minutes, I thought the one on the washout is very brief, and actually, we spent quite a bit of time on it.
We did?
And I think it needs to be fleshed out if somebody wants to review the recording. I think we need more information. It's under discussion at 8:21.
Okay.
So Stephanie or whoever. Steve, could you?
Yeah, can you go back over, so,
Sure.
is that,
August 2nd.
August 2nd is approved or pending?
It's pending.
Yep.
We didn't get to it last time. We put it off to the end, and we went so late
That we didn't get to any of the minutes last time.
that we didn't get to it. We adjourned at 10 o'clock and kind of late. So on August 2nd, Steve, are you going to review that with Stephanie?
Well, yeah, you want more detailed information?
I mean with Jennifer, excuse me, I said Stephanie.
Yeah,
Yeah, the roll call was missing
okay,
with Mark and Eric absent.
okay,
And also, I think it's my opinion at least, that the 8:21 discussion on the washout on Shore Road,
Should have had more detail.
we spent like an hour or 55 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, it should have more detail,
And it's
absolutely.
only a few sentences on there. I think we need to flesh that out a bit,
okay,
okay? That was all I had on August 2nd.
okay,
And I did August 16th as well. And the timestamps are missing. I mean, they get the spot on the recording, but the times are missing on some of the agenda items.
okay,
I don't know if she can go back and do them. But if not, I have the correct ones if she wants to contact me.
okay. I'll have a contact there.
Yeah.
Might just be easier.
And with those modifications, I'd be all set. So I don't know if you want to put this off for the next time to see the changes, or?
I will. Absolutely. No, I'm happy to put that off until next time.
Didn't get to the September something.
No, nor have I. But thank you for helping us keep up with our,
Yeah, really, thank you.
much appreciated. Okay, so that's item 2 was meeting minutes. Item 3, Chapter 61A, land of 445 Oak Street. There is a vote needed for this item, so I think we talked about it in the past. We have in our packets a letter from the owner explaining her desire to take the land out of Chapter 61A designation. She also states the future intent for the land, but I don't know that that's relevant to our decision. It is intended to be for solar use.
That's the 20-year lease.
So this is, it says in pen at the top, needs a vote. So property of Susan Mazinski, land off of 45 Oak Street, parcel 132, TAC 5. So she describes the parcel to convert land situated off 45 Oak Street for solar use. It's shown on Exhibit A, which is staples to the letter, so there's this section that will be removed from Chapter 61A.
Where the hell did that go?
So, Steve, I only have one question, and that is, did Open Space also review this and provide a recommendation?
Well, I'm sure they reviewed, I'm not sure what the recommendation is, but I think all boards have to give a recommendation if the town should exercise their right of first refusal.
Correct, I just know Open Space specifically, and most of their purpose is dealing with Chapter 61A. They are the experts on this topic.
Right. But I think I'm not sure where that vote stood, but I think procedurally all boards, planning board, commission.
We're really making a recommendation to the town of Douglas whether or not they should exercise their right of first refusal before the land is converted.
Right, so
Yep.
I think it's independent of the open space. I mean, they might sway you if
I only say that because they're experts on the topic and they would be able to tell you this is, so things that we consider when we're considering right of first refusal is it have important environmental significance? Does it have important historical significance? Is it attached to, adjacent to another piece of town-owned property? Is it adjacent to the state-owned property? Is it contiguous to another, a place of environmental value of some kind? So it appears to me that none of these would be the case. I mean, obviously, it's a nice field on private property, but I can't imagine that that would be affordable for the town and the benefits. I mean, it's really just a benefits analysis. So,
This is the one right on the Sutton line, right?
correct, it is on the Sutton line. So what we would be doing in this case is voting on a recommendation to the town of Douglas whether or not to exercise their right of first refusal in the matter of this property on 45 Oak Street as shown in Exhibit A.
In my opinion.
I do, well, I mean, because I want to call a vote for that, and I,
Yeah, I don't see any reason for the town to exercise that, right?
okay.
I agree.
All right, I will hear a motion.
I move that the town does not exercise its right of first refusal
You're moving that the commission does not recommend.
to the town
Yep,
to exercise the right of first refusal for the land off of 45 Oak Street.
Second?
motion made by Art, seconded by Mark. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Art Monmany, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
And KG Dudley, aye. Thank you. All right, the next item here is 42 Chestnut Street. There's a minor plan change. Steve had a video of it, and you have a map.
I've got a plan. It's going to be easier to probably display and walk you guys.
Name and address for the board.
Les Stevens, 31 Brookside Drive. So last year, the Conservation Commission Board approved and issued a DOT number. It's 14/3/10/16. And this was the plan. So two key points of reference is, this is the building setback line. This is the 50-foot buffer coming through, and the striped orange. And then this solid orange is the septic in the 100-foot buffer area. So this is what the original approval was. What we're proposing is a minor change to, is basically, is the deltas is, we are moving driveway, which was over here on the setback line on the original plan, is being moved over. So this is being moved over, and the septic is actually already approved by the Board of Health to move out of the 100-foot buffer area. And so there was a driveway easement that's has been extinguished. So now that opens it up to be shifted over. The wetland marking is still a 50-foot buffer, but we've now moved back a significant amount of room back off of the original.
The original?
Yep. So, sorry.
This is,
There we go. Thank you for
Sorry.
putting them in the same orientation.
My bad.
Oh, it's all right.
So this was the original, and the driveway was on that setback line, and now it's shifted over. We're out of that. We're keeping the same well location, everything like that, but moving the house footprint farther away from the 50-foot buffer and moving the septic system out of the 100-foot buffer.
Do you only have just the one relevant wetlands area, or is there another setback line from another wetland area?
There's the 50 and the 100 striped.
Okay, but there's not like a 50 and 100 from another wetland across
No.
the street or another location? Okay, that's the only wetland of concern on this
The
map.
only one that's concerned. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's an improvement all around because we're getting farther away from the wetland. We're also moving the septic system out of the 100, which is shown over here, in the solid yellow, orange.
The driveway is the same size?
Driveway's the
Question?
same size and shifted away from the wetland area that would be cropping around here. It still comes down into a drive under garage area.
Correct, so the house has gotten larger. What is the square footage increase?
The original was a 24 by 31, and this is by 7 feet. The house got, so it's
Longer or wider?
longer only.
Okay,
So it was 24, so altogether, it was 55, and it's 24 and 38 versus 24 and 31, so 7
okay.
feet.
Well, it's important because all of that increase to the non-permeable surface area is within that buffer zone.
Yep. So, and it's shifted over, so,
So now the corner of the house is outside of the the
yep.
50?
Yeah,
100.
it was within probably about 5 feet in this previous plan, plus the driveway area
Yeah.
is right on the line. That being shifted over just creates a better layout, as well as moving the house over into the higher land and out of the wetland
Okay.
area. So that was what's being just proposed, because we already ran it by the Board of Health because of the septic change and stuff like that. They had no issues and no problems with it at all. The original plan showed that it was like 9 bushes and 3 fence rails.
Okay.
And what I would like to do is, because we're hitting the 150th anniversary of Arbor Day, was plant trees instead of
That's fine.
fence posts, if, you know what I mean? So I was just proposing 4 trees,
What kind of trees?
hardwood trees.
What kind of hardwood tree?
Probably an oak and a maple, you know,
All right.
mix it up. I mean, 4 trees and then 6 bushes, and instead of, because all the other ones.
Instead of
are
the fence
shrubs.
posts?
Yeah. Okay,
No, this is, I would, no, the trees as an alternative to the fence post is fine.
okay. Oh,
All right, board, what do you guys think about the plan?
Did Steve have a video?
He does. Steve, did you want to show it, or do you want me to watch it by myself?
You want to see the video? Sure.
I mean, it's in the file, I was,
Let me bring it up.
thank you.
yeah, we got a straw swaddle set up and the trees removed.
Awesome.
But we just looked at it and I was just surprised that, you know, there was 9 bushes being proposed and the fence, and I'd rather put trees in. 'Cause I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
better
fine.
for the area.
Let's see here, this is,
Why is that better?
With wetland and stuff like that, the trees actually have a chance to grow, and fence posts are gonna rot out in 5 years, and, you know what I mean, they're not
this
existent.
is,
The trees, if they do well, could actually be more permanent.
Yeah,
is this on the screen? This is from
yep, you got it,
About that.
this weekend, I think.
yep. So there was a lot of the trees that were removed were rotted out, and I think there was only one somewhat healthy tree that was wrapped with vines and stuff like that, so that was having issues.
Oh, this is this
Yeah.
spot. Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, it used to be an old barn, I guess,
Yeah.
property, way before my day. I don't know. I don't remember driving down this road too much in my youth. So, but
No, this is a nice spot.
Yeah, it's a nice spot and stuff like that, so, I think that the trees in the back would look good, and there's a nice healthy tree still out front and stuff like that. So that's where things are.
What's happening to the stone wall?
The stone wall, we're looking to shift the stone wall to put actually more up on the front property line by the roadway. That way there, it still holds that stone wall. You know what I mean? I don't want to lose the stone wall in any way.
Right.
So I'd rather repurpose the stone wall and bring it up towards the road area.
It needs work and it needs maintenance anyways.
Yeah, and I think moving it up to the road area, that what's Steve's jumping around, but what's shown there, the little driveway, there's the old driveway that easement's been discontinued, which is part of the plan. That's why we were able to shift that septic system up into that area,
Oh, okay.
because initially they
That
were gonna
was
keep
an
that.
older easement for the old property,
So
yeah.
that's been discontinued, which is why we can make the shift there. So that's it.
Steve, did you have any issues?
No, I don't have any at all, Art. I think it's good that he's moving things away. I mean, I think he's gonna have the same amount of disturbance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the trees. better than
It's probably given, he's probably wanna walk out basement and whatnot. It's probably-
Yeah, the house is a tick bigger. I mean, I worry about the non-permeable surface areas within the buffer zone. And put gutters on it?
Yeah, the ground penetrators, and then we'll put, try to put 4 trees and stuff like that instead of the 3 fence posts, and work with Steve just on,
Is the limit of disturbance essentially the same?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't want to see the lawn grow any either.
No, where the septic has to go in and stuff like that, is still gonna be there, so we're not looking to.
I know, and you moved that out, so that's appreciated. Okay.
If we eliminate the fence, how will we keep the new owners from knowing not to expand down towards the wetland?
That's the
Expand
intent
yard.
of the tree plantings.
The tree plantings along actually is more of a preventive versus a.
No, but to your point, are you saying that
I mean, on Depot
we don't
Street-
typically label what the fence is for, but you're saying that you're thinking that the fence sends a clearer message than the trees?
Absolutely.
Okay. Could we also put the signage
Where the signs by, where the fences are, where the trees are?
where the trees are?
Yeah,
I just want, like, at least the
Yeah.
first, I know those
Yeah.
signs don't last, but at least the first set of owners to appreciate that that's why the tree line has been
Yeah.
placed there.
Yeah, do not disturb the area. Yeah.
Does that,
Give the trees a chance to grow.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
3 years usually. And Worcester just passed a whole tree ordinance that they're doing now with trying to make more green, so they're actually planting more trees in their area.
oh, that's good, and especially since you're going to hopefully replace some of the ones that came down on the property.
Okay.
Can you provide us a schedule or a list of the trees that you're proposing to plant and their size?
Yeah, I can provide, when we get to that stage and stuff like that, because I think it was just shrubs being planted in there and stuff like that, but I'm more putting in hardwood and stuff like that, because that was originally there. And I don't like pine trees myself. I'm more of a hardwood person, so, I'm looking to sprinkle them. I'll work with Steve and stuff like that when we get to that stage and
Okay.
work out from there. Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely,
Thank
thank
you.
you. All right, and number 5 is certificate of compliance for 49 and 53 Woodland Road, DEP 1430973. That is a property there, Steve will tell me better. Steve's got a video of this one too. We're just looking at a partial compliance for the crossing.
Yeah, I don't see the applicant here tonight, but I'll show you the video anyways. There's actually 3 DEP numbers, one for the crossing and one for each house, and they're,
Okay. You also noted that we're waiting on an as-built. So
let me,
I'm not inclined to vote on this. I'm not inclined to issue without the as-built, even if the video looks lovely.
let me see, yeah, hang on one second. Need a bigger screen.
Oh, you have to put in a report for it, or put in a request for it.
So at a minimum, I think even though we're waiting for the partial certificate, the homeowners, what happened here?
Just
Can you
lost.
see the screen?
No,
The
no.
video?
It was there,
No,
now
it's-
it's gone.
Oh, it's gone, right? Hang on. Can you see it now?
Yes.
So this is the crossing. So there's 3 DEP numbers, one for the crossing, one for this house on the left, and there's another house on the right. Each have their, once you get through the crossing, each have their own separate filings for the work on the house. So the house is substantially complete. The new owners are ready to move in. They'd like to get at least an occupancy permit, not associated with the DEP number with the house, but just this crossing. So, I mean, if the commission's okay,
It does look
even if we're
nice.
waiting for it, maybe give them I can give the building inspector.
Still wanna see an
verbal,
as-built.
give them the go-ahead to move into the house at least.
Steve, was this the one that was going to be one house at one time?
It was,
Yep.
I remember it, okay.
yeah.
No, we went and sidewalked this, so
Yeah,
this
we
is,
were
this is
doing
neat,
all,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's like a spring that comes out and
It's like
makes
an
that little.
intermittent type of stream.
It is. It's a big crossing for a little stream.
Yeah.
So I think I mean, my personal opinion, I would uphold the occupancy for the people who move into the house.
Okay.
The developers are usually pretty responsive and pretty good. We still have bonding on the crossing and bonding on the replication area.
So what's the story with the as-built?
Well, typically, you put up, when people do a crossing, you have 2 bonds, one for the crossing itself and the construction of the crossing, and then one for the replication area before you can close it out. I usually tell people to do 2 separate ones because the replication area takes about 2 years to establish, 75%. The crossing, if it's done right away, they can literally get a partial certificate, get an as-built, and then get their money back from the crossing. And then you'd wait for the replication area to get established.
I agree that the developer made a good decision, I don't have a representative in an
Right.
as-built.
He's not here, but I think procedurally what the building inspector wanted, and that's why I took the video too, was that if the commission thinks that the crossing is not sign off on it, but good enough for them to move into the house, which has their own certificate of compliance, it's not like it's not built. I think that's what they were.
No, I can see that the crossing is built and established, I just,
Right, so.
again, I don't have the as-built.
Right, so at this point, not to sign off on the certificate of compliance, but allowing the building inspector to allow the people to move into the house at this time.
Yeah.
Straighten it out.
Yeah, no, I think, well, board, what do you think?
Yeah, and wait for the as-built to come in.
Okay.
Right.
This would be temporary, or,
But do we think it's okay for the people to go live in their houses?
They're looking to get their occupancy permit.
Yes.
It should, they should be able to get it as-built to you as soon as possible, right?
I requested it, I mean, this usually doesn't happen, that
No, I know.
the occupancy permit gets upheld because there is a lien on the property but it was requested by the building inspector to make sure that we're okay with it. So I try to fast track it, I don't think they could get.
So in answer to the question, are we okay with the building inspector issuing the occupancy permit, how do we feel?
I'd be fine with it.
Okay.
I think they've done a good job on the crossing.
Yeah, we're not going to approve it until they get the as-built, but are we okay with the building inspector letting,
Yeah,
okay.
I personally,
Okay, do we need a vote on that, or?
Sure.
no, I don't think.
He
Well, we're
said
not gonna,
sure.
we're not issuing a certificate, so
If you want to give me a consensus, I mean, I'm fine with it.
we're giving you a consensus that we're okay with the building inspector issuing the occupancy permit. We're just not going to take a vote until we're ready to issue the certificate.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you. All right, before I jump to item 6, this is just kind of I'm going to try and expedite. I'm going to sign and pass around those 2 bills. One's for a peer review that we had Graves do, and the other one is for Eric's MACC courses. So I'm just going to sign these and pass these once I find a pen, and then while we're meeting. So then item number 6 is an RDA for 48 Bigelow Road, septic repair, Matthew Marrow. Do we have somebody for that property for 48 Bigelow?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. This is Matt Morrow, present to the request for determination.
Name or address also?
My name is Matt Morrow. I'm an environmental consultant. My address is 45 Lisa Drive, Leominster, Massachusetts. I'm representing my client, Dwight Schmidt, who is the property owner of 48 Bigelow Road.
Awesome. Do you want to share screen?
Yes, please, if I may.
I would
Okay.
just recommend, you open the meeting.
Oh, yep, nope, you're 100% right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Thank you for the reminder. Let me quick find that one. Should be the first one? Nope, it's not the first one. There we go, it's the second one. All right, notice of intent, Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516, legal notice for a public meeting request for determination of applicability. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Matthew S. Marrow Environmental Consulting on April 25th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center at 29 Depot Street for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 48 Bigelow Road, and the applicant is requesting permission to installation of a well and upgrade to a subsurface sewage disposal system. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass., or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order superseding certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GL 30A18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website. At least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the RDA may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. A PDF of the submission can also be obtained by a request to irene@marrowconsulting.com, and this was posted on the 15th of April, which gives them plenty of time. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. I'll share my screen now.
Okay.
Up there. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm usually never rapid fire on these screen shares, so
Oh, there we go.
hopefully that's a good sign. Okay, so what we have in front of us is a plan done by Innovative Septic Design, that would be Evan Carloni, for the replacement of a septic system and the installation of a well at 48 Bigelow Road. So the part of the septic system that actually is within the buffer zone, it may be difficult to see on my screen share, but this line right here, the yellow one, is actually the 100-foot buffer zone setback. So you have the beginnings of the main heading out to the 1,500-gallon septic tank out to the septic system. This area here is out of the buffer zone. These triangular marks that you see on the plan are actually the pin location of the trees on the property that Evan was nice enough to locate near the areas of work. The existing septic system is a cesspool. The cesspool is going to be dug out and replaced with a 1,500-gallon tank to the leach field, which is pictured here. The other part of the work on this determination, where my hand is scrolling for the cursor, is the 50-foot setback from the, what we call the BBW, which is actually the edge of water for the pond. We're looking to install a new drilled well. Here is the existing dug well here that will be decommissioned. The reason why we're doing the new one, because simultaneously, 56 Bigelow Road, which is not part of this filing, they're not my client, but they are doing a new septic system as well. And because of the location of their septic system or what is proposed, my client is decommissioning his well and moving it back out of the range of both systems. That does bring it within 50 feet, but not within 25 feet of the pond. Again, I know it's hard to see on this screen share because of the way my PDF is coming out, so I apologize. But I'll just wave my cursor around you to where it says 96. This 96 elevation that we found here is actually the limits of the 100-year floodplain. I know if you actually look at the DEP mass mapper, even with the overlay being off a little bit, it actually looks farther down than it is. Evan had the area surveyed, the actual elevation of the 100-year floodplain, and found it at elevation 96. We have been careful to make sure that the new well is located outside of the 100-year floodplain. The old well is also located outside of the 100-year floodplain and will be, as they say in the industry, cut and plug. We are proposing to have 12-inch wattles here for extra erosion control, just to make sure that, you know, we don't have any issues with erosion. Even though the site isn't really steeply sloped, I'm just going to scan over to here. Here's the detail on the erosion control. We're proposing a minimum 12-inch wattle staked. The stakes would be a minimum of, you know, a foot deep. They'd be staked every 5 feet for the sections of wattle that would be put up here. That's essentially the scope of work, and we're hoping that you find that the work as proposed in this plan will not impact the resource area.
If you're done sharing your screen, I'll show the video there.
Okay. Wow, I'm getting good at that screen share.
We appreciate it.
Take them through it. So here's the, everyone see this?
Yes.
So this is, Matt, if you want to go through it, then that's fine. This is,
Well, I'll let you narrate. Go ahead.
well, this is the lot, this is Bigelow Road. I think most of the work is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. I think
It's the well and the water line going into the house that actually would be within the buffer zone, and a small, very small section of the septic main.
septic's going right here, I believe.
Yes. That tree that's in front of you right now is the only tree that would be removed from the property. Everything else remains.
Is the tree outside the buffer zone?
The tree is outside the buffer zone.
Okay.
If you'd like, when he's done the video, I can go back to screen share and show you the tree on the plan.
No, that's fine. I'm just, if we have jurisdiction over a tree, sometimes we have it replaced, but that tree is non-jurisdictional.
Is the well, I think the well's going somewhere over here.
That's correct.
And the well replaces an existing well. We're not adding additional water outtake.
No, the existing well that's on the property, which is on the opposite side of the house, will be cut and plugged. It'll be complete.
Okay.
Well, that's about it.
All right. Board, any questions or thoughts? All right.
You mentioned the septic system for the house on one side, but what about on the other side?
Well, we're not actually representing that client. I can pull up my plan if you like, again.
Sure.
Let me just share it really quick.
Yeah, because you're getting so good at
What Evan just
it.
told me, apparently they're having their septic system replaced.
Right.
And that, I don't know if that's approximate,
make their own
that's got to be approximate of where they want to go with it.
I just didn't want you to move your well and then have your well be impacted by the neighbor on the other side. That was my only concern for you.
Well, I mean, this particular well will meet all the setbacks from both systems. So it was just better to get it over with and just move it.
So is there not a residence on the, I don't see where north is, but on the lower part of the screen? Is there a residence down there?
Let me zoom out from this. North is right here. North points to the water.
Yep.
And you have 36 Bigelow Road, an approximate location of their existing septic system here.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's what I was asking.
Do we, this is a public hearing or public meeting. Is there any comments from the public on this RDA? Right. So I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion made by Art, seconded by Eric Harris. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Bob Buckley, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mongemi?
Thank you, and I will entertain a motion to issue either positive or negative RDA, and any conditions that we might have.
And move to issue a negative RDA. Mm-hmm.
With the regular conditions.
Second.
Motion made by Art, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Bob Buckley, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mongemi?
All right, KG Dudley, aye, you're all set.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. All right, the next item, number 7, is another RDA for 12
Thanks.
Meeting House Lane, a detached garage by Anthony Jennings. I'm going to go ahead and read that public hearing. Why I never have the correct one in front of me. There we go. Lane.
Public meeting.
Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516, legal notice for public meeting, request for determination of applicability. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Anthony Jennings on April 25th, 2022, not 2021. It is 22 now. Just gonna put the correction in. At 7 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is at 12 Meeting House Lane in Douglas, Massachusetts, 01516, and the applicant is requesting permission to add a detached garage in rear of property. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass., or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A SS 18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the plan, copies of the RDA, in this case, may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. This was posted the 31st of March, 2022.
Did you say detached or attached?
It is detached in this ad, which has the incorrect year and is missing a noun, but otherwise should be clear enough to announce that we're having a meeting to do with this property. Do we have Anthony Jennings or somebody representing the property? Yeah, we like those two, yes, thank you.
I'm sorry?
Yes, please bring us the plans.
Sorry, this is just superimposed of pretty much what's there.
All right,
And then I probably added a little more setback to the existing building, which is the rectangular version
awesome.
there.
Name and address again for the meeting?
12 Meeting House Lane, Anthony Jennings.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like the building plan as well?
No. I don't think so.
The only other thing I added to that is a dry well.
Okay, awesome. So that you've got gutters then on the detached garage.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
So where is the detached garage?
So here's
see
the
a home.
existing home as the as-built. So these are as-built. I'm trying to do it within the previous proposed model of work, which it, for the most part, is. And at most, I'll probably be removing about 6 trees. And so it's here. The current well is here, and so that's the only reason why I'm moving it as far back as possible, because I don't want to cross the line
The
for
water
well
line.
for any future issues.
Okay. So is the, because I don't have the plan, is the detached garage inside the buffer zone?
It is not, but it's It's within, I believe, 100 feet, but it's within 50 feet.
Right, that's what I meant. It's within, it's between the 50 and the 100?
Yeah.
Okay, and then have you identified the 6 trees that you're removing?
I have not.
Okay.
But
So,
it's still, but those 6 trees are still within the wattle existing work.
oh, I appreciate that. No, that's good and that's helpful. Those are 6 trees that are just would be co-located. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so a little history, so this order of conditions was for a single-family house lot to build this house lot years ago. And so that's why you see the original erosion control line in buffer zone line. So that when they closed it out, they didn't clear as much as what was originally approved. So that's why you kept they could have cleared a bigger yard. So when he came in, he pretty much kept these like probably 95 feet from the wetlands. I'm sure there's some clearing and a little grading. All that work would have been in the original order of conditions if they amended the original, but they closed that out. So he's coming in. Most of the work is outside the jurisdiction, except for some tree clearing and a little bit of grading. So that's why you see the original erosion controls. I don't think
I have an
he's
electronic
clearing.
one, so thanks.
He won't be clearing what wasn't cleared before. He's just clearing enough to put the detached structure in. I have a video here too, if you want to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This is it right here.
There we go.
So I think it's right where the swing set is.
Exactly.
Where the,
Yeah, so where the swing set is.
Oh,
Is where
okay.
I'd basically be putting the building.
And what's the size?
The size of the swing set of the building,
The building?
38 by 24.
38 by 24?
Yeah.
I was going to say, the swing set doesn't have very much non-permeable, although it does have a roof on it.
No, and see where the rock is on the left there? That's where the well is at. So I'm trying
Okay.
to get a little behind that.
Okay,
Yeah, you can see the cap there. So I
Okay.
would go back in there a little bit.
okay.
And where are the trees that, we see them on this?
It would be directly behind, so,
We missed it already.
yeah.
So-
So this would be a side view. So basically, the beginning of the tree set there would be the front of the building, and then 24 feet back. So,
So the trees on the left.
yeah, and I mean, the trees that I'm clearing wouldn't necessarily be the building footprint, but they would be enough in case those trees were obviously, because, I mean, not a lot of excavation is obviously going to happen because this is going to be a short foundation. But still, regardless, if any of those roots got disturbed, then I'd be worried that they would fall over.
That they would die and fall down and they would land on the building. No, I understand the motivation for moving the six major trees, not including all these little guys.
Yeah, that would, yeah, not include those other guys.
Okay.
So, yep, so that's, the rock is the well, and then basically, about a foot behind that, and then 38 feet to the right. And because it is wetland, and I'd be worried about, obviously adding additional water to the runoff, I would be putting dry wells there as well.
So the B lines that I see on the plan, those are the buffer zone lines?
That's what
This here and then
I
this here?
believe so, yeah.
I believe those are the 50, and then the next
50 and
one is the
100. That's what I
100.
was going to ask.
Oh,
Like
so you just
50
got
and
100, okay, yeah, so the corner of the garage is just inside the 100.
Exactly, to the bottom, the back left, yeah.
So going just based on just kind of guessing in percentages, worst case, you would be removing potentially 2 trees within the buffer.
Yeah, on the left-hand side.
Right. I'm just imagining where the 6 trees are and assuming the 2 of them are going to be in the buffer.
Yeah, you could see a few of them there. And actually, to tell you the truth, part of the 6 is this one over here on the right, which is not included in it, part of the wetland.
Okay.
I just wanted to remove
Oh,
it.
yeah, no, so most of the trees you're removing probably are outside of our jurisdictional area,
Pretty much,
but I'm assuming that at least 2 of them will be.
correct.
So, I'm inclined to recommend you replace those 2 trees somewhere else on the property
How do you mean?
by planting.
No, I understand, but like where, like a complete opposite of parcel, or, within,
Close to the
Close.
buff, right, I don't want you to have to go into the buffer zone, but close to the edge of the property.
edge where, sorry.
No, that's fair.
Left side of your driveway, maybe?
left side.
Yep,
Oh, I have,
and/or to the left of the well. I mean, I know you don't want to get trees
No,
with
that's
roots
fine,
into your
actually.
well, depending
right.
on, I don't have a good sense of scale here. You could even go to the right, but I would prefer the left.
Right.
I would prefer somewhere along the left side of the driveway. Or not necessarily next to the driveway, and closer to your existing limit of work.
it's the same species, or does it really matter what kind?
Doesn't have to be. If they're hardwoods, I do prefer they be replaced with hardwoods.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, you could pick. That being said, I mean, if you're replacing an oak tree with something like a Japanese maple, I would be like, no, that's not equivalent. It's something that's like a native hardwood to the area, but it doesn't have to, you could put a sugar maple there, you can put an oak there, you can put something that you think is pretty as long as it's native.
Yeah, I'm actually particular to pine, so that's kind of what I did.
Okay, are you removing pines?
No, at one pine, but it's it's off the 50 or 100.
I'll allow a
It's
pine.
actually, yeah, what's that?
I'll allow pines,
I'm only removing
if you're
it because
particular to them.
I want to because I'm worried about it falling on the house already. So that if I'm taking 6 for this building, I'm taking the ones that serve as a potential for falling on the house elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that's what
For sure. So no, if whatever trees you would like to replace with is fine with me, but I would like to see 2 tree plantings on the property.
Okay.
And we will condition that in.
Yeah, and that's fine to do it on the perimeter, like
Yeah.
say over there and stuff.
Yep,
I'm just thinking for mowing purposes, I wouldn't want to put it in the middle of the ground. or
no,
something like that.
unless you want to, but if you don't want to, then don't. Just replacing the trees that are within the buffer that he's taking down, because he hasn't marked exactly which trees they are, so I'm making an assumption that there are 2 of them.
There's only 2 in the buffer of the 6.
Correct.
Roughly, yeah.
That is the assumption, because we know for sure at least one of the ones getting removed is way on the right.
Yeah, exactly, right behind him.
So I'm looking where the square is, and I'm looking where the buffer is, and I'm like, all right, if I imagine 6 equidistant theoretical trees, because I don't have the actual trees, I'm going to assume worst case 2 of them are the buffer, so that it's 2 that I want replaced. All right, I don't have any other recommendations, anything else from the board?
No, not for me.
Okay. This is a public meeting. Are there any comments from the public on the property, 12 Meeting House Lane? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Moved by Art, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Our property, yeah.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Monjamai?
Katie Dudley, aye. Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion to issue the negative RDA, as long as we're in agreement, with the condition of replacing 2 of the trees with other trees elsewhere on the property. I'm not going to condition the species, except that I recommend they be native.
Preferably in the buffer zone?
Preferably, or on the side facing the buffer zone. Yes.
In the 100.
Right, right, on that left side, like behind where your well is.
Got it.
Oh, the only other, sorry, I forgot to ask this question. And I don't know if it's jurisdictional. I'm just gonna double check. Are you creating more driveway space to get to that garage?
So that's a great question. The pavement, sorry, the asphalt only goes to the existing driveway there.
Yep.
The only thing I was going to do was to do gravel, not driveway. So like.
Between the end of your existing driveway and the front of your new
To
garage?
serve the 3 bays, but that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little.
No, I can see the 2 blue dotted lines.
Yeah,
So in
exactly.
between that space, you would have
Sorry, I
it as
did draw it.
gravel.
Yeah. So
And
gravel.
that's completely outside the buffer for us, so that's not jurisdictional, but I was curious. Thank you.
Yeah, I do worry about the runoff, so that was.
No, we
one of
appreciate
my
that,
big
for sure.
concerns.
All right, I will entertain that motion.
To issue a negative
For a negative with the condition of adding the 2 trees in regular conditions
and all our regular conditions.
and for 12 Meeting House Lane.
12 meetings,
So moved.
yes. That's what
All right, motion made by Art,
Second.
seconded by Mike, roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Monjamai.
KG Dudley, aye. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, item number 8 is the RDA for Gilboa Court Extension Lot Number 5, but they did not place the legal notice, so that will have to be moved to May 16th, 2022. Steve, can I just mention that we moved it, or do we need to take a vote?
No, I just mentioned it.
Okay, because it's not opened yet. All right, same for 9. Again, that's a public meeting for an RDA for Gilboa Court for Lot 6. That also, they didn't put the legal notice in, so that's going to go to May 16. Number 10, 7 PM, request for determination of applicability for 31 North Street driveway installation, Tanya Marcano. And I will read, of course, it's the one in the back still. The notice of intent for that, or the ad for that. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516. Legal notice for a public meeting. Request for determination of applicability. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on April 25th, 2022 at 7 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 31 North Street, and the applicant is requesting permission to expand my driveway and fencing in front of the driveway/house. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass., or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, FGL 30A18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the project may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission, 508-476-4000, extension 205, 4/6/2022. So that was posted on the 6th. That's plenty of time. It doesn't have a name, but it has the correct date and it has a noun. So,
Well, it's good then.
it's good. It's good. That one has, we got the year right. Okay, 31 North Street. Tanya, is there somebody here to represent for 31 North? Yeah, come up. And then name and address for the record.
My name is Tanya Marcano, 31 North Street.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a plan, and there's one. So you are adding a driveway.
Driveway, Steve, you did a great job, by the way. Thank you very much, because I am new to this.
Oh, yeah. No.
So where he has the red is on the right and on the left. That's where the driveway is, and then in front of the house, that'll be driveway also. And then the fencing would be right there where he's showing, and then in the backyard, right there.
Okay. Okay, so you're also putting in a fence.
Yes.
Okay.
Steve, could you zoom a little bit?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Thank you.
What's the red square?
So there was already driveway around the square. I don't know why they didn't make the whole,
Thing, a driveway? They
Yes.
left a square open. Okay.
yes, left the square open, so I just wanted to complete it.
All right.
Want to see the video?
Yeah, actually, thank you, Steve.
Is that coming up or after?
Not yet, we're still looking at the map right now.
All right.
Steve needs more technology. North Street.
How's that?
Nothing.
Nope, we're not looking at it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard time. I'm just gonna close the plan out.
Where is this house?
How's that?
There you go.
Thank you. Oh, that's where we are.
So the water stream is across the street.
Yep.
So is the driveway left of the house already done?
Yeah, it's not completed because the building commissioner had came and told us we needed to go through this process.
Yes.
So it's not completed.
So you guys stopped work and then started the filing?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm trying to understand the need for all of the new pavement, especially the one
I
in
just
front
rather
of the
have
house.
pavement than grass because a lot of ants come in the first floor. Since I've been there, a lot of ants started coming in. And even through, this is recycled pavement, so the ants are working their way up through it anyways.
So this corner is that is paved in the video is what you're filing to pave also?
Yes, I still need to pave the front of the house. It's not completed and still need to do the edges.
And you're going to put a fence in somewhere between the pavement and the house?
Yes.
Okay. So there's, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not technically a wetland here. This is a riparian zone. The Mumford is a river,
You're within the riverfront area. Yep.
Douglas's largest river, at its largest point.
There's no BVW. It's
No, it just drops right in.
the resource area is the riverfront area.
No, I'm familiar. This is close to
So-
my water testing site, so I'm very familiar.
So is this work within the riverfront area?
It is.
And is this also an aquifer recharge area?
That would be under the planning board, but it could be.
I mean,
They
if it,
modified they changed the map a couple of years ago, the planning board. I'm not,
So,
we'd have-
because we're increasing non-permeable surfaces within the riparian zone, technically, shouldn't we need an analysis of alternatives? Or do we not do that for residential?
They could, yep.
Okay.
There was a cease and desist, and so they had to file.
No, that's fair. But not,
To come in front of the commission to stop their work.
appreciate, yep.
So that was explained where they filed the RDA or they filed the NOI.
Yep,
Commission asked for more information, and they chose to file the request for determination.
no, and that's fair.
And so work hasn't commenced since probably 6 weeks ago.
Okay. All right, board, what are your feelings about this and the pavement?
Is there a way to make the driveway like not pavement, like gravel or something? That's more.
That's what it is right now.
It's currently all gravel.
It's basically, it's not pavement, it's all loose.
And I mean,
It's recycled pavement.
yeah, it's
Right,
regrade.
which will become hard pavement in the middle of the summer when it gets hot, it adheres and it
Well, that's what
can
it's
become-
already is, like, so, to be completely honest, this area is probably already non-permeable surface, because you've been parking here is already, right?
The left side of the house was non-parking? I didn't think that was parking
Was the left
previously.
side of the house, that driveway, was that gravel before too, or was that grass?
No, that was grass. The left
Okay,
side was
okay,
grass.
thank
And the
you.
front is grass?
The front looks like it's mostly
I was
grass.
gonna
So-
leave all the grass in the front.
Okay.
And then, do the two sides are already parking, and then do the middle of the house, which is not completed yet.
Right,
I would be opposed to doing any more paving in the front of the house.
okay,
Very opposed to that.
all right,
I mean, it's encircling the house.
the pavement,
Yeah, the plan that as I can read it, it looks like it's
there would be
encircling the house.
pavement in the front, on the side, on the right side,
Be a lot of room.
everything but the back of the
I mean, and
house.
it's in a recharge area. It's in,
No, this is an area that runs
I
off
got the
directly
idea
to
from the
road.
house next door.
No, fair,
And it goes just like that, the middle, because I'm always parking in front of my house.
yep,
When we move furniture in and everything, the truck goes in front of the house. That's why all that dirt is there in front
Yep.
of the house. So.
no, it's a very
regardless,
high
there's
traffic
not gonna be
area.
any grass there regardless.
No, I
Because we're
understand.
always running through it. So it's dirt, and I'm bringing in all this dirt to my house, so.
Nope, I understand that. That house has been there for a long time. That's a very high traffic area.
That Honda's parked right there.
That's my car, yes, I always park there, so look, it's all dirt.
Yep.
And then my kids and myself, we get off, and when it's raining a lot, we're tracking
muddy.
all that mud into the house.
So,
I still don't feel like that should be a parking or pavement area.
so then we still have, so then this being an RDA, we have two options. We can issue the negative, and it sounds like we're saying that we don't think this is a negative. The opposite, our other option is to ask for a plan with more information. Because I'm thinking, since we're in a riparian zone, that we might need or want an analysis of all of our alternatives, and we might want a calculation of the non-permeable surface area.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I feel it's too sensitive an area to
We're gonna increase the runoff.
Right,
based
we're
on the
worried about how
plan that
sensitive
is
this
shown
area is
to us.
because of the river being right there. So then, those are all our thoughts. So then, Steve, what do you recommend I do? Once I close the public hearing, you recommend issue a positive determination and then ask for a plan? I'm just double checking the process here.
If you want more information, then you.
We do, I'd want a plan that showed the non-permeable surface area calculation and an analysis of, potentially an analysis of alternatives.
Right, so you'd issue a positive determination
Okay.
that the proposed is, you need more information, and it's gonna, it's impacting the resource area.
Okay. All right, since this is a public hearing, are there any notes from the public? Thank you. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Art, seconded by Eric, roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Carl Moffitt, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangumai.
All right, KG Dudley, aye. All right, and now I will entertain the motion for the determination.
How do you want to word that? That we can issue positive,
Positive determination.
but
We want a plan, so an engineered plan. So this is a good drawing, but we would need it dimensioned. And then,
So-
yep,
So if you want to grab the file, right next to Mark, there's a file, should say 31 North, to signing.
Yes.
Pick that up and just go to the second page, and it lists on the section B, it'll give you guidance on what to check off on the positive determination,
Oh, awesome.
and you can read.
Okay. So, determination. So the area described in the reference plan is subject to protection under the Act, requires a filing of a notice of intent. So the boundary delineation should be referenced on the plan, so the plan should show the delineation of the riparian zone. Because right now, we don't have that marked. You can see the edge of the river, so that's 200 feet from the edge of the river. We would want to see, so that's the boundary of the resource area. That is shown. We can see the edge of the river, so that's already there. We would want to see the edge of the resource area boundaries, and then the boundary of the zone, the riparian zone. And then, of course, the boundaries of the planned paving area. The work described in the plan within the buffer zone. And so I'm going to guess that's going to be all the work, but I don't know. You may have work that's outside of our 200-foot buffer zone, so then that wouldn't have to be shown or dimensioned on the plan. We do recommend showing it.
Right, so out of all these, when they file the
It needs a
request for
notice of intent.
determination, so when they file the request for determination, the application form, they check off what they're asking for, and so sometimes they say, I don't think my work is within the jurisdiction, and so, and you say positive or negative, or, I think my work is, I think they checked off, they know the work is within your jurisdiction.
Yep.
Just like the other two, they didn't think they were going to impact the resource areas, but if you think it's going to impact the resource areas, you need more information, then you check one.
Okay. So then it's just the area described in the reference plan is an area subject to protection under the Act. Removing, filling, dredging, or altering the area requires the filing of a notice of intent. So, and then, yeah, it would have to include the 200-foot buffer and the dimensioning for the paved area.
And then 5 would be for the local bylaw.
I believe you.
These are things that I have to provide? What
Yes.
you just went through?
Yes.
All right.
Well, you can talk to me. It's as we discussed it, your options are, you could have filed the notice of intent, which is more detailed plans, engineered plans. You'd have to, get a surveyor out there, or you could file what you filed and get a determination from the commission. With the caveat, they might ask for more information,
Okay.
and that's what they're doing.
I'm just new to this, so.
I totally understand.
Yep.
And a lot of people who come in here are new to this process, and I get it. But yeah, when, anytime you're in riparian zone, which is within 200 feet of the river, the requirements are a bit more stringent. When you're within a wetland buffer zone, which is the other ones that we've talked about tonight, there's a 50, there's a 100-foot, there's some play there. You don't have that same amount of play within a river zone. And so that's why this is as stringent as it is. The Mumford's a major tributary to the Blackstone. That's something that we keep an eye out for, so.
But Steve will help you.
Yep, absolutely,
Guide you through the process on what you do.
absolutely,
I
certainly.
appreciate it.
So I will entertain that motion.
So
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Art, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
this is on the positive determination.
Positive determination, checkbox number 1, that the area is within the resource zone and requires a notice of intent.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Monjamai.
KG Dudley, aye. Thank you,
You're welcome.
and we will see you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 11. Also, if anyone was curious, it's now 8:10. Move to May, so it would have been public meeting, request for determination of applicability 424 Northeast Main Street septic repair by Wendy Lubis. That has been moved to May 16, as they did not place the legal notice. Item 12, a public hearing, 148 Shore Road. Also, they requested a continuance to May 16, 2022. I will entertain a motion for continuance for the notice of intent for 148 Shore Road.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Art. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Art Buckley, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
KG Dudley, aye. Number 13 is NOI DEP 140B 1024 for Shore Road Lot 299, parcel 7.16. They have also requested a continuance to May 16, 2022. I will entertain a motion for that continuance.
Still move.
Thank you, Eric.
Second.
Made by Eric, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Art Buckley, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
KJ Dudley, aye. Thank you. 14, 7 PM, notice of intent, Red Pine Trail Douglas Improvement Project. This is adjacent to and access from Wall Street parking area, Bay State Trail Riders Association. We were waiting for a DEP number. We now have a DEP number. It's 143-1044. Do we have anyone to speak on Red Pine Trail tonight?
Yes, you do.
Oh, excellent. Name and address for the record.
Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering.
Excellent. So yeah, we've been introduced to this plan before, this boardwalk. We're gonna let you share screen again, but did we change anything since the last time we talked about this?
Not really, we were waiting for the
DP.
DEP file number, and they had a couple of comments,
Oh, okay.
and I'll just
Not see the DP.
go over. Do you want me to share a screen?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the DEP had a couple of comments. On the mass mapper, this wetland here, I believe per the DEP, there is a certified vernal pool somewhere in this wetland. It's,
believe it.
that kind of surprised me because, you know, this wetland is fed by this wetland through this intermittent stream, and then this wetland here feeds into a bigger wetland. It's not isolated, and I thought that was one of the criteria for a vernal pool.
Okay.
But nonetheless, per the mass mapper, there's a certified vernal pool somewhere in this wetland here, and this wetland does get fairly large. But one of their comments was if we were within 100 feet of this wetland, and no, we're not. Here's that 100-foot buffer zone. We're close, but we're not within it. Of the edge of the wetland. That doesn't mean that's the edge of the vernal pool. That vernal pool's got to be somewhere out in the middle of that thing, which, like I said, kind of surprised me. It doesn't really meet the definition of a vernal pool. That was one of their comments. And then the other one is to mention they talk about the intermittent stream here and how many linear feet of bank is going to be disturbed. And actually, we're really not disturbing any linear feet of bank. We're just, you know, expanding this existing intermittent stream. So those were the two comments from the DEP.
Okay.
Margaret, this is the one with the man-made composite material for the crossing of the intermittent stream?
Correct.
It's kind of like a boardwalk too.
Kind of like a trucksy type of
Yeah.
thing? Okay. I think it's similar to the one
Yeah.
I think
It's Bay State Trail Riders. It's the same organizers. Yeah.
Can you slide the picture, the plan over just so we can see the pictures that are on the plan? Thank you. Are any trees being removed to make the trail?
just right here next to that, where we're putting the crossing, you see where I've got the cursor right there?
I do, yeah.
There's one tree right there that's in the way.
Okay.
And this here is during the real wet conditions. In the summer, this is pretty dry. But one of the issues is during the spring and the fall, it does get quite muddy. Here's the existing trail, the picture up above. But we just want to eliminate that, you know, and put the trail on dry ground with a crossing over the stream.
Is there a step up onto the bridge, or is there a ramp that will?
A ramp.
There's going to be a ramp.
Yeah, just use a gravel ramp right up to the bridge, and then right here is, you know, they use existing granite slabs for abutment.
Yep.
They just put it on each side of the stream and then lay the structure right on top.
About how high is the ramp, or how high is the bridge?
It's about a foot,
Okay.
18 inches max, but it's probably more like just a foot high.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Do we have any comments from the public on this? Red Pine Trail. I'm assuming we're not missing any information. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Art, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem.
KG Dudley, aye. Thank you. Yeah, unless we had any issues with the plan, I will entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent,
Order of conditions.
order of conditions for the Red Pine Trail Douglas Improvement Project. Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem.
KG Dudley, aye. All right, you're all set then. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 15, which is, are we still, so there's a couple things here. So the public hearing is opened. I don't have to open a public hearing for this. It's already been opened. We appear that we're missing a DEP number, and we're waiting for the peer review to come back?
I would officially open the hearing for tonight.
Oh, we haven't, oh, my mistake. I thought we had opened the hearing. Okay, nope, let me,
I mean, it was open and continue, it's a continuation. It was open once, but you would open it for tonight's agenda.
okay. So I don't have another thing to read. I am opening for tonight's agenda. What did we say that it was? 15, notice of intent, O Mumford Road and 5 Forest Street, definitive subdivision plan, Sutton Douglas Development, LLC. Is there,
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Wayne Bella, Clean Design Collaborative of West Row, Mass. I'm joined by Tim Flynn of Flynn Build and Develop. We were hoping to be there in person as we usually are. However, I played knucklehead this week and it threw my back out.
no.
So I'm having a hard time getting around. So I do appreciate you guys having this here. Like I said, much rather be down there hanging out with you right now. But again, thank you for having us tonight. Tim, is there anything you'd like to say before I delve in?
No, thank you for having us, and appreciate continuing the dialogue. Thank you.
all right, excellent.
So again, our DEP file number on this is CE 143-1043.
Okay.
We'd like to, again, Sutton Douglas Development, Flynn Build and Develop is the developer, and we are LBC. What we'd like to do is, as we typically do at the meetings, is present the board with an agenda, providing you with an update of the hearings attended since our last Conservation Commission meeting with you on April 4th. We had met with the Sutton Planning Board on April 11th at a continuing public hearing, presented at the hearing, which was continued to May 10th. On April 14th, we met with your planning board in town, public hearing. We did a presentation there, and that was continued to this Thursday, April 28th. We do have some peer review comments that have been raised for both civil site and traffic. We went through them, and based on what we read in the civil site, which is our area, there were no deal killers here. Nothing really jumped out at us, primarily plan tweaks, with stationing and the like. But the peer reviewer reviewed our stormwater management system and concurred with the methodology, and everything seemed to be somewhat in order. The traffic, clearly not within the purview of this commission, but that has been reviewed as well. And we will be meeting, so Tim, this is news for you. We'll be meeting with the traffic consultant on Wednesday to discuss the comments that they raised. So in terms of what we'd like to cover tonight, Madam Chair, is there were some questions raised at the previous Concom hearing. We did respond to a number of those, but we just want to quickly touch on them again as just a reminder, should anybody in the audience or any of the commission members not recall what was discussed. As you know, DEP issued comments on the project. There was a question raised by, I think, one of the commission members, Mr. Muncham, raised a question on the road D swales and where they discharge. I thought we had addressed that, but I'll touch on that again tonight. There was a question as to the amount of clearing throughout the entire site associated with this filing, which is again for the roads and the basins, not for the lots. And the chair, Ms. Sharkey, had raised a question on the closest points of the construction to the resource areas. So we'd like to just hit on those if we could.
Yeah.
And that should be fairly quick. Thank you. So the DEP Q&A, these comments from DEP in black.
Wait, I believe we prepared a deck, so Madam Chair or someone from the board wouldn't mind allowing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Jeez. Sorry, Tim.
No, you're good. That's why there's two of them.
Thank God. Boy, this could have been a crazy night. You see the, let's see. I'll be there in a sec. There we go. Beautiful.
I am looking, yep, thank you.
Wayne, I got it.
So, you've got me, Tim? You beat me to it. There you go. Back down, Tim. Back down. There you go. Madam Chair, sorry about that. Clearly the back meds are having an effect here. Again, thank you, Tim. So, as you can see in black, these are the comments that were delivered as part of the issuance of the file number. We've responded in red italics here. So the comment raised by DEP is that the project must also be filed in Sutton. We're responding no portion of the project is within the jurisdiction of the town of Sutton. Conservation Commission thus not requiring a filing in Sutton, and I will show you that in a minute as to why that is. Based on the pre and post peak attenuation chart, there appears to be an increase during the 100-year storm. The applicant should provide additional data that demonstrates no effect in the off-site properties. So, as I presented to the commission, if you recall, we had Mike Scott, one of my colleagues, who actually did the stormwater analysis. Mike had joined us in the last meeting with the commission. And basically, as we showed in the presentation, there are watersheds that are tributary throughout the site. There are multiple watersheds, and what tends to happen is there's point at which they all converge at one location. And if they converge in the ditch. So while there was less than a 5% increase at the ditch, the area contained a breach point where some of the stormwater would surcharge at Duval Road at that culvert, causing some of the water to eventually backwater to the Mumford River. The area upgrading into the culvert functions as a large detention basin with the culvert inlet regulating the flow. The other comment that was raised was the soils reported in the soil logs appear to be rapidly infiltrating, and based on the appearance of soils with rapid infiltration rates, 1-inch rate should be used to demonstrate that standard 3 is met. Those are the drawdown calculations, and it's stated that the drawdown calculations should be provided for all infiltration points. So we provide that typically with the use of the graphical hydrographs. So when you look at stormwater events and you have the 210 and the 100, it'll go through and discuss the various start times, the peak times in the hydrograph, and when it drains down. That time, that 72-hour drawdown period is depicted in the hydrograph, from the peak of the hydrograph to when it draws down. The next comment that was raised, Tim, next screen, please. Next slide. Thank you. Test pits are required at the location of any infiltration BMPs, 1 sample for every 5,000 square feet of basins, with a minimum of 3 samples per basin to verify the seasonal high groundwater and soil type. While the soil logs have been provided, soil test pit does not appear to be situated in each infiltrating BMP. Please provide additional information for where BMPs are situated and confirm the depth is at least 2 feet seasonal high groundwater and/or bedrock. The detail on the separation of the seasonal high groundwater should also be provided on the plans. So, starting on, and this was a concern, if the commission recalls, Chairman Sharkey had raised that comment and asked how we were looking to address that. And if you recall, I suggested, which is, we've seen done, that perhaps it be conditioned. The commission wasn't comfortable with it being conditioned in the order, and we've gone ahead and scheduled soil testing to start this Wednesday to run through Friday, looking at all the basins. One of the reasons that we haven't done it, there are a couple of reasons. We had gone through the site, as you folks know, and did some exploratory testing throughout the site, and we based the elevations of those basins on the results that we received in the field. Typically looking at those test pits closer to those locations. Knowing that it was subject to a peer review on something like this, and the same will apply in the peer review letter, they commented on rational method calculations. While all of that work has been done, we held back on, with respect to the rational method calculations, on providing that until we knew for sure that the peer review consultant had no problems with, the design. In this case here, we knew that we were going to have to do soil test pits, and because of the actually the pretty clean peer review letter that we received, we know that these basins are not moving. So now we've committed to go ahead, like I said, starting Wednesday through Friday, the 27th through the 29th, to open up some test pits. As they say, 1 per 5,000 square feet of basin area. So we are currently looking at 30 test pits are being proposed. They have been flagged out today, so we're ready to rock and roll starting on Monday. The work that we're doing, we will not be crossing any wetlands under the WPA, as you folks know, for the purposes of this exercise. We are allowed under the WPA to perform soil testing within the buffer zone. Once those test pits have been observed by LDC and Graves Engineering, they will be backfilled, returning to the previous grade. The other comment is stormwater standards require minimum distance for an infiltration BMP to be 50 feet from any jurisdictional water or wetland. And they reference the stormwater handbook and note that redesign may be required. And asked us to look at basin 702 and flags A23 to A30 and basin 403. In our design, so that they're absolutely correct. This is a requirement in the stormwater regulations. Whenever you propose infiltration, if it was a regular detention basin, it wouldn't have to meet this criteria, but because we are proposing infiltration in these basins, we need to maintain from the infiltration part of the basin a distance of 50 feet. Tim, next slide, please. So, interesting one. As you folks know, it was in spring of last year that we filed an ENRAD with the commission to confirm the wetlands on site. What you'll see is that in our plans, the way we design is we get our survey CAD file from the surveyor, and we basically bring that information into our design file. Well, what happened was, in this case here, you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen our proposed work and the BBW from the definitive plan. In that, you'll see that we have, nicely done, Tim, wetland flag A1 and the limit of the 100-foot buffer zone and north being straight up the sheet. If you look to the southwest of the limit of 200-foot buffer zone call out, you'll see the outfall to the stormwater basin in a portion of basin 702. You'll also see that the BBW line does go through the stormwater basin, and that BBW line comes off the furthest point being flag A1. Now this plan, the wetlands shown on this plan were the plan of the original survey. As we're going through the beginning the ENRAD process, it was not referenced to what was eventually approved by the commission. And Tim, if you could pan over to the right, please. So what was approved by the commission with the ENRAD, and this is what was filed with the commission, was this plan here. This was approved, and as you can see, the 50-foot no disturb and the 100-foot buffer zone go away from the site, thus not requiring that filing in the town of Sutton. So Tim, if you could go to the next slide, please. So this was a question that was raised by Mr. Mungem, and I think that Mike Scott from our office addressed this, but I wanted to just touch on it again in case there was still a question. As we said during the presentation, the unattenuated flows from the Forest Street subdivision come through the site. The reason that we bypassed our drainage system is we didn't want our basins to grow up or to grow to the size of the Great Lakes. So what we had done is we had bypassed the basins and sent the stormwater where it currently goes, and that is to the down gradient channel. So Tim, if you could zoom in to lot 6, please. And then, yeah, there you go. So lot 6, where lot 5 joins lot 6 to the rear of the lot, there's an area there where there's a pipe, flat end section that picks up the runoff from the swale that comes from Road D in red. Tim, if you could use your there you go, over to your left. Over to your left. That, a little, there you go. Well, actually, no, we're just going to let Tim have fun. Tim, over to the left, there's a line that goes to the left of that. There you go, up in that area there. There you go. So that flows through a culvert that eventually goes down Road A and bypasses everything to the discharge point over to the right of the screen.
Wait, is that existing culvert or a planned culvert?
That's a proposed culvert.
It's a proposed culvert that would go from where to the roadway?
So, is there any chance I could drive for a second here, Tim? I don't know how we could. So from Actually, if I might be able to, so Tim, if you go to the catch basins at Road D, the furthest to the left, and you go straight up, and there's the swale, there's the first swale, it stops right in here,
Okay.
okay? And then you have the flared end section, the other red line, Tim, that comes out of that and runs down the property line. Run it down the property line, there you go. There you go, keep going.
Okay.
And that comes down to Road A. And if you go to the right, Tim, 45 degrees downward, down to there, continue past there, over to the discharge point, Madam Chair. That's where that flows. So as you can see, that bypasses the system as was intended.
Wait, is that,
That way, yeah.
is that all culvert or is some of this natural flow?
It's all culvert. We were looking to ideally,
Is that like a couple 100 feet of culvert?
yes. We
Okay.
had looked to, so we had looked to, in fact, the initial design that I had in there, I was looking to create a swale, and every so often, kind of create like a little bit of a waterfall drop, a couple of 3 feet, and slow the velocities down. Unfortunately, because of what I was proposing in fighting that topography, the swath was a pretty decent swath. And so I said, you know what, the lesser of the two evils in trying to minimize that situation, I would need to pipe it. Also, there's a stormwater basin on lot 6 that takes the road runoff as well, that if I did go with an open pipe system, then it would discharge into that basin. Or I could, again, have it pipe through the basin and come out the other side. This is a fairly deep pipe, so it will be below that stormwater basin. Like I said, ideally I wanted to do that, but with the amount of tree clearing it would have resulted in, I just figured that we just pipe it down to that point.
Are the squares catch basins, Wayne?
Yes, they are. Yep.
So
Yeah,
you're
basins,
also taking water from more than just, the water that's coming off of the former subdivision. Now you're also taking water from these lots.
That's correct. Yep. And the system was sized for that. So then the other area that we're looking at, Tim, if you could zoom out and pan over to the right. So we have another discharge point. And what that does is that takes the stormwater from lot 7, that again comes through a swale. It takes and then stormwater from lot 8, comes through a swale, gets collected in the pipe system down in Road A, goes down to there, and then continues to discharge out to that point. All they flow into plunge pools, so the plunge pools are depressed in riprap plunge pools, and what that does is that dissipates the energy of the flows as they come through there. So as we come down the hill, we do have some pretty decent topography, but the way we slow that down is on the lower reaches of the pipe system, we really flatten out these pipes. Those last pipes are probably, no more than a 1% slope on the pipes, I can't recall, but we try to keep those nice and flat so the energy is not only dissipated in the pipes as it hits that a flat pipe, enough to provide a 2 foot per second cleansing velocity in the pipe, but then when it hits the plunge pool, it's further dissipated by the pool in the riprap associated with it. The next slide, Tim.
Who becomes responsible for maintaining these culverts that are on the property lines?
Yep, that's a good question here, Mark. Yes, that will become the responsibility of the town if they choose to accept the road.
Wait, so
located.
the town would have to maintain the plunge pools, the riprap, and the culverts on a property line between two houses?
That's correct. So typically, what happens is when you construct these things, it's pretty much at the inlet and the outlet. So as part of this, we have an operation and maintenance plan, which was and a long-term pollution prevention plan for both construction and post-construction. And within that, it describes the methodologies as to how to maintain that, how to clean these, how often they need to be cleaned. And so that's spelled out in the O&M plan. And so, yes, that would be the responsibility of the town. All these would be located within easements, which is shown on the definitive plans now.
Have to raise taxes.
I'm sorry?
No, I was just making the offhand comment that we might have to raise property taxes to offset the costs of maintaining the system. It's just the things that you've listed here for me, riprap, plunge pool, culvert, detention basin, none of those are natural ecosystem features. None of those are habitat. None of those are resources. Those are all man-made structures that don't benefit us.
And then to install them, they require tree clearing.
Correct.
And, creation of these easements and all that, too.
So if you want a recommendation for us, I would recommend leaving some of these lots as natural habitat to absorb the stormwater and reducing the amount of non-permeable surfaces and lawn area that you have throughout the overall development.
So as we designed the site, we are looking to keep the footprints on the lots, and that's what the stormwater was based on. The developable area is nice and tight, limited to the edge of the driveways, limited to the yards, associated septic systems. In terms of what we're looking at here, ideally, in a perfect world, we would love to do roadside swales, have the runoff come down, hit the roadside swales, hit a culvert, go under the swale, and then into a nice gentle swale, as I was looking at originally on these lots. Unfortunately, you can incorporate some of the principles which we are here in trying to think small, looking at narrow pavement where we can, that would be acceptable to the planning board, limiting the swaths that we're cutting for the roadways, and incorporating those principles. We are also looking to capture stormwater, mimic the existing hydrology, capturing stormwater at the source and attenuating it at the source. Unfortunately, this site, because of the soils, because of the topography, doesn't lend itself to be a true lid type of development. To do true lid, you need flatter sites, and this is based on our experience. There are a couple sites that we've worked on that were true lid projects, and those sites were flat with very permeable soils. Unfortunately, this is not the site. Ideally, we would have liked to have had the channels or the swales come down the property lines, but again, it resulted in additional clearing. So we didn't go that route. Again, the stormwater needs to be addressed. That, as you folks know, that's a state requirement. We need to attenuate that. And the development of Gradient of us didn't do that, unfortunately. But we are required by the state regulations to provide for a properly sized system.
A couple of questions, if you don't mind. There's a lot of information Wayne's been talking about. So has the planning board, is the planning board's consultant Graves and our consultant Graves Engineering, has he been to any planning board meetings?
I reached out to them to see if they can attend the meeting this Thursday.
He hasn't. So, I mean, there's a lot of information, it seems, I'm not sure what the planning board has their standards for stormwater also. I mean, I don't know if the commission would be prudent to start having our consultant at the meeting to take in what Wayne is telling everybody and to try to address on behalf of the commission, to answer some of these questions on our behalf. it's starting to get into some intricate issues. He is working for planning board and conservation. I think it might be prudent to not bring him in after all this. I know he's got some letters.
Right.
There was a lot of information with the DEP also that has to be addressed, that he should be looking at also. It's a big site. It's a lot of wetlands. I'm not sure there's been much correspondence. I haven't seen too much from Graves or myself regarding this, or I don't know if you're corresponding and CCing planning board and everybody else on that, but it's almost like we're just going back and forth with a couple letters and that's it. So that's one. And then two, the issue with the ANRAD, I'm a little confused on how you made that determination. And are you saying that there's wetlands there's actually wetlands that weren't, because they weren't flagged and wasn't picked up on the ANRAD, that you're claiming they're not there, so jurisdictionally that's not on there, or?
No. So originally, when we had looked at, when our consultant had gone out to the site, he had gone out there he'd gone out to the site, the surveyor had gone out and done their work. So we had a CAD file that was dated, let's say, April of 2021 or earlier, that we started looking at conceptual design. And as we looked at that, we called Scott, and I said to Scott, I said, you've got a wetland flag one. I said, that just seems to hang there on the property. I said, what does it do from there over to the property line? I asked him to go and chase that, because I said, when we file for the ANRAD, I want that on there to show what the jurisdiction of the commission is, and it will tell us where the limits of our proposed development. What had happened is, and I think, Steve, I don't know if you're familiar with CAD, you seem to be pretty technically savvy, but with CAD, if you work the program the way it should be worked, and not all people know how to do it, but we're fortunate enough that we do. Basically, it's almost like making a cake. The lowest level is the surveying, and then you just build on top of it. What happened was that lowest level of that survey plan, when the Concom approved the ANRAD that showed flags 1A, B, and C, because he added a couple more flags to flag 1 and renamed them A, B, and C. What had happened is, when we referenced that file, we should have referenced that file into the definitive plan, it was not referenced. So it was looking at the old wetland line. So after the comment was raised by DEP, I reached out to Scott, and Scott said, I thought I had gotten that. I wrote the ANRAD plan, Scott Hine.
So you're saying you didn't X-reference the ANRAD file, was it X-referenced into the AutoCAD properly?
That's correct.
So when you surveyed the ANRAD, did you have control of the site, or you floated that on open space?
No, we did have control of the site.
You had control of the site for the ANRAD. Did you have control of the site for what you're using now? So when you rotate,
absolutely.
So when you rotated both plans on, is there an error in the flagging?
Nope. So there's no rotation. Everything's on the Mass State Plane coordinate system. That's another thing that hacks will do is build. Nope. Mass State Plane feet.
Feet? You're using feet, not meters?
Yeah.
So you're off. All right. So both of them are feet?
Yep.
So the flag A1, so what does the flagging from the ANRAD go to the Sutton property line?
Yes, it goes over the property line, over to the David property. So it goes over and onto the David property.
So is the flag, so if the flagging, how much of an error that is there in the flagging that the DEP is saying that you have to file on Sutton?
So basically what they saw is on the definitive plan. Tim, can you go back to that plan, please? That slide. So on the definitive plan, it ends at flag 1. Flag 1, as part of the ANRAD filing, then became flag 1C, because he added flags 1A and B. Now, before you zoom in, Tim, if the commission can look at the filing, over to the left is what was filed with the the Concom and the Planning Board. That was an older version of the existing conditions file. When we saw that and we referenced in the later version of the approved wetland delineation, which is shown on the right, you'll see that the wetland flags, as approved by the commission, and if you pull up the old INRAD plans, you will see that, that the delineation goes onto and away from our site, goes onto the David property. 2 flags, so flag 1A1C was formerly flag A1. It was just renumbered to A1C because he added 2 additional flags.
Who added the flags?
Scott did, and your commission approved it.
After Art Allen, or after Ecotech looked at it?
That's correct.
So the flagging goes to the Sutton property line?
Yep. But the work does not. The work is not within that jurisdiction.
So you surveyed the flags wrong in the field?
No. No. The flags are properly surveyed, Steve. The problem is that when Scott had originally gone out, he only ended at what is now flag A1C. He never put in the last 2 flags. I called Scott and I said, you need to add more flags. I need to see what happens. Where does it terminate at the property line? Because I need to know where the buffer zone is cast on the project. He then went out there, added flags 1B and 1A, and they were field located by survey. That was then used in the filing of the INRAD with this commission and approved, reviewed by Art Allen and approved by this commission.
And those you can see those on the green dot. Those are that's in there right now.
That's correct.
So what's the issue with the DEP?
DEP, so if you could pan over to the left. So the DEP, what they had was the older version of the wetland delineation, the non-approved version, okay? So that last...
Where'd that come from?
That was from an earlier survey done. So
before the ANRAD?
That's right. And
So
what happened...
So your preliminary plans didn't have an approved wetland flagging?
No, the preliminary plans did. The problem is when we had the definitive plan, when we created the definitive plan, the plan that was referenced in was the wrong reference. It wasn't updated. So what it brought in was the original flagging that didn't include those other 2 flags. So when DEP looked at it, they said, well, what's going on? This is exactly what I was looking to avoid. And that's why we had the additional flags up there. So when DEP looked at it, I would have asked the same question. You know, flag A1 just stops. What happens after that? And so they asked the question that if I were a circuit rider, I would have asked the same question. So like I said, the plans, the revised plans that are going back to the planning board and to the commission are going to see are going to show the INRAD delineation rather than this here.
Which is, everything should be the same except for those 2 flags?
That's correct. There was 1 flag that was moved in the field, Steve, by Ecotech, and that will be in there, but that does not, it was in a location that did not affect anything we're doing.
All right, well, I'm sure you'll have to give that back to DEP to comment, but I guess my premise of my original comment, not to hold up the meeting, is that...
Excuse me, Steve, I would like to, but I've been reprimanded for going back to DEP with comments by this specific circuit rider. She said this is something that gets dealt with the commission. You're more than free to do it. I've tried.
It's fine, but I guess to the commission, my original premise is a lot going on, and I'm not sure what the coordination between the 2 boards are, and the one that we're hoping to have the same person, the same peer review person look at everything. It might be prudent to get them into one of these meetings sooner than later to go over all these items, and I'll leave it at that.
So if I could, Madam Chair. There is a peer review letter that has been issued to, I believe, your commission and the planning board, where Graves Engineering had done the peer review and found no substantial issues with the plans, nor did they find anything substantial with the stormwater calculation. Everything seemed to be in order.
Understood, thank you. We have not had the opportunity to review that peer review yet, so I can't quite speak on that
So
yet.
if I could, sure, and if I could, we have, so part of the thing we wanted to do is, it took us a while to get actually it came up our last meeting with you folks. We had to coordinate for the soil testing, and as I said, that's being done this week.
Great.
We wanted to make sure that with the soil testing, if there was anything that we found in the soil testing that caused us to revise a stormwater basin or any of the basins, we wanted to handle that all at once with a filing, with a reissuance of the plans to the town. So they did make comments, changing some of the labels on some of the sheets, and then when we got into the stormwater, looking at some of that soil testing. So the thought is, we're at a point right now where we prepared a peer review letter. We're reviewing it right now. My goal is to try to get Graves Engineering out to the planning board on Thursday night. I know Jeff Walsh, who I think was the author of the letter, was out of the area for a few days, and I think he's back this week. So we sent them an email to see if somebody could be in attendance for that. I have yet to hear from them. So that's kind of where we are. Once we have that, the letter is addressed to your commission, to your planning board, and to the town of Sutton as well.
Okay. No, that's much appreciated, thank you. So we will get the peer review comments, you'll have a response to those peer review comments. I understand you want to do that full revision. I'm just going to come back to the last slide we were on. When we were on the presentation, we were discussing the lengthy culvert and the other ditches. I'd like to see changes to your plan to mitigate that issue as well.
The maintenance issue.
Yep, the issue, that's too much culvert to rely on the town to maintain. That's too many separate ditches to rely on the town to maintain. I'd like to see a different mitigation to address that issue.
So I think, Madam Chair, I think that becomes a challenge in that we're picking up the runoff that comes from above, and it's headed downstream. So the alternative is to introduce it into our system and really enlarge these basins, and treat the stormwater from up above, which with all due respect doesn't make sense from our perspective. We can appreciate the concern that the town is going to, they have to maintain these systems. But I think to allow the runoff from up above, the unattenuated runoff, to come through our system is not fair to the applicant. Not only to that, but now it's going to cause these basins to swell significantly.
No, that's a fair concern, but you're not considering our proposed solution as well, which is downsizing the amount of your non-permeable surface area to reduce the overall amount of stormwater area that you're dealing with. Because I have a handful of other concerns regarding open space. I still think you're using TP40 as a design for your storms, because I'm looking at a letter that you received from Stephanie Covino, from Blackstone Valley Watershed, and so we're very sensitive to the impacts on the Blackstone Valley. So I would like to see, a higher standard, higher design standard used on this plan. And I would like to see, I'd like you to take on that challenge, and I'd like to see some more creativity and some more exploration of options that are going to protect this area, that don't involve as much development as you have in this plan.
So,
Madam Chair, excuse me, Madam Chair, if I could, so I am not an engineer, I'm a developer and builder by trade. So in terms of when you say take on the challenge of a higher standard, what specifically are you, if you could be more specific as to what standard are you looking for us to follow, and is that outside of what is published by the governing bodies? Is that currently published somewhere?
Yeah, so the recommendation that Stephanie had given, because I'm a different type of engineer, is the NOAA Atlas 14+.
Okay. And what is, has that been adopted by any of the governing bodies that oversee so Mass DEP or any of
Correct.
the town?
Yes, it is recommended by the Stormwater Task Force at the DEP.
it is, but, excuse me, Madam Chair, but it is not the standard by which the stormwater regulations govern. They are still looking at PP 40. They're in the process, as Mike Scott said at the last meeting, they're in the process of upgrading. They're not sure whether or not they're going to go to NOAA or whether or not they're going to go to the Cornell method.
Yeah, I recall that conversation.
Yep, and we've used the method that is the published method in accordance with the state stormwater regulations.
Understood. I'm still going to ask for more. This is, and also my final address is looking at the open space considerations. I don't know if this was part of your slide package. I don't know if you've talked to the 55 acres of proposed area to be conserved in their natural state, but I would like a discussion on clarifying if this area is contiguous. I didn't see that on the overall map, and I'm sure that's part of, well, I don't know. I'm assuming that's part of the package you provided. But I want to make sure that, are those areas contiguous to each other? Was it chosen out of special consideration, and does that help cover some of your slopes? Because I would assume that if more of your high slope areas, because you talked about struggling with the, this would be easier to deal with if it was flatter and if it weren't so sloped, that maybe putting some of the sloped areas under conservation would help you manage some of the stormwater as well.
Oh, I do appreciate the comment. Unfortunately, the flatter areas are down in the wetland areas and within that open space area. The areas to the west are the steeper slopes and out of conservation jurisdiction. So we're looking to utilize those areas more out of conservation jurisdiction for the development than those lands within conservation jurisdiction where it's flat.
Okay.
As for the open space, it is contiguous.
Nice,
there's a 20-foot strip down at Mumford Street and another 20-foot strip over at Conservation Drive. The whole thing is contiguous, and those are the two connection points to the public way. I will say that those two connection points are within resource areas, so physical access to that is not available, and we recognize that. We have had some discussions with town staff in this town prior at the preliminary stage to look at making it a public open space with trails and parking, and it was determined at that time that was not a good idea, and that there was currently open space in town, so we took a different route on that to where we are today.
Okay. No, that's something I'll look at.
When were those discussions and who were they with?
They were last summer, so we had met with last summer and spring, I think. But it was earlier on last year before we filed the preliminary plan. We had a meeting, we had several meetings with town staff both here in Douglas And that was the full group, you know, the DPW, town manager, and all the department heads. And then we had met with Chairman Sharkey and Eve Tapper, who was the acting town planner at the time.
I don't believe I was at any of those meetings.
That's correct. Yeah.
I was the first to heard it.
Okay.
So,
The invitation was there. The invitation, we invited everybody. And I could go back to those emails to see. Not sure if you had something going on at that time, Steve.
so what is being proposed for the non-subdivided land?
So currently, it's, as the chair had indicated, 55 acres of open space to be left in its natural state. There are uplands out there, there are wetlands, and so that's the intent, to leave it in its natural state.
Under whose whose control?
So the intent, you know, is Tim had anticipated, if the town were looking to increase their inventory of open space, he'd be more than happy to hand it over to the town.
All right. If there aren't any other questions at this time, and I'm not going to close it, but if there aren't any other questions at this time from the board, I am going to open this to the public. It's currently 9:06. I'm willing to hold this open till about 10 p.m. So I will limit you all to 54 minutes. So I will start with comments, whoever wishes to speak first, but please, when you do, if you want to be heard, I do recommend coming up to the microphone so that you can be heard over Zoom and state your name and address.
Madam Chair and
Oh, and one more reminder before I get started. We are talking about the notice of intent for 0 Mumford Road and 5 Forest Street for the subdivision plan. We are not discussing or information relevant to the other properties isn't part of this meeting.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Lynn
Great.
Rozak, 50 Conservation Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a brief paragraph, actually a request from some of the residents on Conservation Drive. If I could just read that
Absolutely.
quickly, and then I can give it to you when we've signed to help you know who is interested. There are others, but this was kind of short notice. We decided this would kind of be helpful to you folks. So, Reed Sutton Douglas Development. We, the residents of Preservation Park Development on Conservation Drive in Douglas, hereby request the town's Conservation Commission order a species review on the land, partially in the town of Douglas and partially in the town of Sutton, containing 110.2 acres, more or less, shown on parcel A on a plan entitled Plan of Land in Douglas, Massachusetts, prepared for Evening Side Realty Trust, recorded in Worcester District Deeds, and it goes on to say page, book, instrument number. This was done October 2000 and recorded, and it states that. I can pass that over to you. So our main concern at this point, and I don't know if you know the background, where we were supposed to have 110 of those acres gifted to the town.
Okay.
So fast forward to tonight. Additionally, we would like to request that you folks who, I don't know who of you tonight, you know, were the ones that had said we're going to come and walk the land in the spring, but I can tell you now is the time, because there's a lot of prickers.
Okay.
So, you know, the main thing right now that we need addressed is conservation at some point in time, and forgive me, I'm not positive of the time frame. I believe it was the fall or maybe earlier, that they would walk the land. So, as I mentioned, additionally, which is not on that little paragraph, we would like to ask that Mass Wildlife, the Division of the Endangered Species, come along.
For the site walk.
For the site walk.
Okay.
The reasoning for this is that way back when, well, we were there in '99, but phase 1 started a little bit earlier, a couple of years earlier. there have been many species identified that we want to protect, you know? So that's basically the first thing that we would like to address. I have some documentation of all of this with dates and recordings and everything that I can present to you. So I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay.
So we'll have this, and yeah, anything that you want us to see, feel free to email to Steve. I typically review things electronically, so
Okay.
I prefer things in that format. We hadn't scheduled a site walk yet, we still have the peer review ongoing, but you're
Yeah.
suggesting we do it sooner than later because of the
Yeah, just
undergrowth
from
that's
the
going to appear in that
walkability,
area? Okay,
If you could, and to, you know, to have the Endangered Species Division go with you, because
Right.
obviously everyone here, myself included, you know, I don't know if I could spot the black turtle or the
Right.
salamander.
No,
you know, or the
understood.
rock pools.
So you said you referenced that study, that you have that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so yeah,
I
if
have,
I could
and
see that electronically, that would definitely help
Okay.
us engage.
It was sent, I believe, all of it.
We may already have it,
Yeah.
We got it from you, right?
Okay, so then,
Yeah.
all right.
Have it. So
All
that,
right.
you know, that would be
I don't think
helpful
anyone's
too.
looking at it. It's pretty old, so.
No, that's fair, but I mean, that gives us a little bit of context if
Exactly.
we wanted to,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. No, I appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, anyone else from the public?
I just wanted to come up and just sort of, my name is Leah Latimer, 18 Conservation Drive. We will give you the papers. One of my neighbors actually went and got the papers while this whole debacle was going on way back. So these papers are from 1997, done by EBT Environmental Consulting, but it was Glenn, I'm not going to say his last name correctly, starts with a K. Anyone know how to say it correctly? He still works there. But they did find some young of the year eastern trout. They found fairy shrimp. They found spotted salamanders, wood frogs. And he also states in here that because the land was going to conservation, because on this definitive subdivision plan for our neighborhood, the definitive plan that's in the registry of deeds, the land they're going to build on is actually in our definitive subdivision plan. It's parcel A, it's completely outlined that it's part of the plan, no houses will be built on it, which is disturbing now because I'm listening to people say, oh, well, we can't make less houses. You know what I mean? We're going to try to get all 30 on there when it was supposed to all be open space. And I know they don't have anything to do with that, but he references that he would even stop the stream with the trout because it was very rare, and he goes through and says that, you know, Conservation Commission will be getting this 110 acres and what a great resource and water source. So it's just so sad that, but it is still part of our subdivision plan. I don't get that. That's probably more planning.
No, that's interesting.
Pull up the Preservation Park subdivision plan, definitive, Worcester Registry of Deeds. There's the houses and then there's parcel A, and both of them are detailed in the description in the quit claim deed. Yeah, so I don't know. It's crazy because I kind of think that.
So we have that, is what you're saying, that what you have in your hand?
I don't know.
1997?
We have this copy of it, right? We have plenty of copies. Oh, she has a full set for you. Of all the papers with, well, it's not that many, but it's got all of the information about the species and the review, and the subdivision plan we can only look at online.
No, that's fair, and I thank you.
Just 2 points.
Yep.
Because there's other projects associated with Conservation Drive, just so we're going one for one, if they want to electronically send it to me, whatever they had, and just make sure that they're referencing this public hearing.
Okay.
That's what they want to attach this information they're giving to, and if there's another project that might be within the same vicinity, just reference that so the record is applicable to whatever public hearing they're speaking to.
Okay.
So that's one. I don't want to cross-mix.
This sidewalk was actually done on the lot that we're not talking about all the way through to the 110.
Okay.
Okay, so, I mean, you can separate it on the paper and say, well, these words, but.
Yeah, no, I understood it.
It was one project that I had.
Co-located. Okay. No, I will have to look into it because I don't know. Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I could. So I heard the abutter mention that it was not a building lot, 110 acres. So that is part of subdivision control. Whenever you create a property and create lots are to be created on rights of ways. So as part of, so for instance, like this subdivision here, in order to generate the lots, you need to create roadways under subdivision control. As part of that, if there is a piece of property that does not constitute a lot, if there's not enough frontage to create or width of the lot to comply with the local subdivision rules and regs, you need to call that out as not a building lot or not a buildable lot because it doesn't comply with the zoning requirements. In order to make that a buildable lot, you could propose a road to go in and create additional lots. So just for clarification, whenever you see something like that on a plan, on a subdivision plan, and on a plan, a lotting plan for the purposes of deeding out lots, typically when you see that, that is the reason it's put on there. It doesn't necessarily mean that the land itself is not buildable. It's because of the political boundary of that particular parcel that it doesn't meet the requirements.
It was always buildable probably, but they were donating it in exchange for waivers.
Understood. Thank you. No, and I thank you for that explanation. And I will look at the vast amount of information that is available, because I mean, I honestly haven't waded through all of the developer's plan either, because that's very extensive as well, which I also appreciate.
So,
yeah.
At this time, do you want me to just gather the information and
yes,
and report back what you want to do with that information in the next meeting?
I know that I want that. Yes, please. What I want to understand is what we're referring to as the land that we're saying was supposed to be put into conservation versus what is the land that we're dealing with in this plan now.
100% the same thing.
Right, Steve?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of history with this. It goes back in the 90s, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
What's applicable, what's relevant. I mean, if the neighbors...
I was going to say, if I could have a highlights reel, that would make sense, but I mean, right
here in this folder.
I understand.
Including newspaper
Steve, I don't know, what else?
Well, there's a request, if you have National Heritage come out, there's a request for, a study. Is the commission's intention right now is just to take this information and then we'll hire a consultant if needed later on, or?
Yeah, I haven't decided, I guess, I'm not at a point where I'm ready to vote on whether or not we're going to have a species study or whether or not we're going to have somebody from Mass Wildlife come out, because I was going to ask you who we had for contacts with Mass Wildlife, if that is a group that we wanted to engage, and if that's a group that we have in the past engaged in an official capacity.
Well, right now, it's I'm not sure what our role is right now, and people, depending on what information they hand us, I guess we would take what's submitted.
Okay.
Talk about it at the next, I'm not.
Yes, I agreed.
Yeah, if you could compile everything, Steve, for us, so we could take a look.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Come back up if you have things to say. Yep.
Again, 50 Conservation Drive. Just briefly, the history of the quitclaim was October 4th, 1993. So this really goes back a long way.
All right.
Okay. So that'll be in the electronic.
Thank you.
Okay. But I just wanted to give you a little background because, you folks are at a disadvantage not knowing the history of it.
Correct. Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anyone else from the public? Name and address.
Wendy Picard, 14 Conservation Drive.
Okay.
I'm the one who has all the conservation packet.
Okay.
So I went up into my attic to my box from when we built, just to see if there was any other information. So this is the packet that I believe Conservation had put together at the time of all the backup on how the 110 acres was going to be donated and requested by Conservation to be put into a trust rather than to the town, I believe. But that is all in here. This was a packet pertaining to a denial of Lot 23, which came after our subdivision was mostly completed. They were trying to squeak out some more lots.
Okay.
So it's put together as
So Lot 23 was kind of supposed to be on the edge of where yours is now, or is it into where this property is?
It's right next to that.
Evening side still owns it.
Yeah, and it's that little right of, not right away, but one of those little paths that would be part of the 55 acres donated.
Oh, okay.
Next to that, correct?
Next to 20
On,
feet, yeah.
So it
On the
is
river, on the
part of
stream.
their map, okay. So we're talking about the same.
It was all
land.
connected.
Yeah.
And-
Okay.
and even in here,
At the time, yeah, okay.
there was trying to get this lot buildable. They were going to take a piece of the donated, I believe, that strip, to combine to try to make it buildable. Well, they're donating it to the town, plus putting it on here to use it the same, so things weren't jiving. Anyway, it was denied, but that's,
That's what that packet is?
yeah, so it's
Okay.
like all the planning board everything that was, agreed, there's a whole packet in here
And the
on.
environmental study.
Yeah, the studies with the fisheries,
Okay,
wildlife brought in.
that's lovely, all right.
Subdivision documentation indicating a clear intent to convey the land to Conservation Commission. So that within that packet, there's all the backup of different
Okay.
things and agreements.
And does that exist electronically, or?
No, I just had it in paper form. I mean, we could scan it or leave it.
Well,
with
it's either
Steve.
that or it's questioning if that's something that Steve has electronically from,
Oh, previous? I don't know. I mean, because this goes back.
so I'm assuming this went through conservation.
Yeah, I mean, there's even signatures on here from the committee at the time, back in October of '97.
Okay.
When Glenn Kravosky was giving what he.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Well, it predates me, the phase 2 of Conservation Drive to cross the stream, there was a subdivision filing on that crossing. And then years later, one of the last 2 lots that were developable, which one of them there was 3 of them, lot 10, 11, and 23. 10 and 11 on the left-hand side got combined, which is on the agenda tonight, which why I recommend that whatever information they give, it seems like they're giving information for multiple projects out that near Conservation Drive.
Right, and that's the other piece, is that's why I keep asking this question of like which lot, where is it co-located? Because I know you warned me about this, Steve, but I don't know enough.
Right, and
To
then
know.
across the street from the one that's on tonight, lot 11 is 23, which they both went to adjudicatory hearing process years ago.
Yep.
And I'm not sure, it just kind of went dormant. Lot 11 eventually got approved years ago because it got combined with another lot for the riverfront. The commission approved that, but then they never built it, and that's why they're back. But the lot across the street,
that's the other.
That is still, it's been 15, 20 years. I'm not sure where any of it stands. You'd have to.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking what the commission wants.
This is denied, but this is part of that original 110 acres.
That's why it's hard to separate them, because it was all owned by.
It was one parcel, and now
Yeah.
those are the other lots that we're not talking about, but then this
And
also includes the, okay.
Yeah, but.
Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I don't understand how it is that we go through the ANRAD process and now at this point where we're discussing something that should have been addressed during the ANRAD process. Kind of late in the game here.
We've been here every time.
Just as an observer.
I'm so sorry. I didn't think that we had opened this hearing until a couple weeks ago.
That's correct, and with all due respect, there was an ORAD issued on the project that reviewed the resource areas and everything that went with it.
Right, but at the time, that wasn't a subdivision.
That's right, but you're talking existing conditions, and again, I'm just saying this, that there's open dialogue, and with all due respect, looking at the land from which the project is being proposed, that land within your jurisdiction was confirmed and approved with the issuance of the ORAD.
We approved the BVW
wetland
lot.
marking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we approved the flagging.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So, no, I feel like we did everything that was appropriate at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Inside probably should have been more upfront with them.
Nope. Okay. Do I have anyone else from the general public, anyone on the Zoom meeting who wanted to speak on this public hearing tonight? Okay. Is there anything else from the board? Because we still want to look at the peer review. We want to look at the data that Steve's going to put together for us. Do we want to schedule? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, that's all right. I just want to make sure what, there was a lot, obviously, again, we apologize, we can't be there in person, but I just want to make sure that whatever is submitted to you folks, the board, and to the town, that we will also be privy to that information as well.
Okay, yeah, Steve, can you make sure that they get copied?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I'm a little confused on, there's a lot of projects, a lot of history. I'm not sure what you want my role to be. Do you want me to, just take what is submitted and then I'll do a OneDrive link so everybody to look at it at this point and reevaluate it at the next meeting. There's layers and layers. I'm not sure. I just want to be clear on what you want me to do with all this information that comes in. You want me to...
If you could put it on a OneDrive, that would be great. And then, yeah, if you have any highlights about like, hey, this is relevant because, or hey, this is irrelevant now because of some other reason, right? And if you know that, then that would be great. Or if you don't, then then the information's out there. But yeah.
All right, very good.
What about the developer's website?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
What about the developer's website?
Should that information be put on the developer's website? Because they have proposed that be the area that it can be viewed and seen. I mean, I don't know how to go to OneDrive or whatever.
Oh, I use the links in the email.
Madam Chair, through the chair, Mark, happy to provide it on the website. Now, we do ask for public record that it also be disseminated through the town. So in conjunction with our website. So happy to put it on the website, but we want to be very respectful and cognizant of public meeting law.
Oh, yeah, so that's what I'm getting at. I can't control what they put on their website. It's their choice what they put on their website. For me, the OneDrive is a better public information portal. Okay, to the public, we're back to the board.
She just has one more question, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, Lynn Rosak again. I saw we have a couple more minutes and this will be very brief. I do have a contact name, and my name is the very first on that.
Yep.
That I gave you. I have a contact person that is more than willing and wants to walk the land.
Oh, okay.
And if you need to go back further, I mean, we do have that information in the packet, you'll need some time to review it. But I might also suggest that town council looks at it. Perhaps that.
Right.
I mean, just.
We may.
All bases here.
Right.
In all fairness.
No, and we may get there. I mean, I haven't reviewed, but thank you.
You're very welcome, thank you.
So actually, that being said, because I know one of the things that came up tonight was the discussion of a site walk. So I guess I'm listening to both Steve and the board. Do we want to schedule and do a site walk sooner than later, or do we want to wait? Did we?
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Well, now is the best time before you got maybe a week and a half. In the survey terms, it's the best time to see anything right now. It's dry, there's no foliage. You got maybe a 10-day window before things start to pop and you can't see anything. I'm not sure if the site's staked.
Okay.
But if you wanted a good view, survey view of the land, now is the time. It's dry, it's not snow. You can probably walk it before it starts to get overgrown.
Okay.
Through the chair, we do have, we have hung some flags for, in the stormwater basins. That might help for reference. The site hasn't been staked.
Okay.
We were out there and the wetland flags are still there. So if you wanted to see, with respect to the limits of the resource areas and the topo maps, the plans that we have, in reading the topography, in using lines of occupation, there are some interior stone walls on the property. There are some swaths cleared through there that appear on the plan. And we use that for orientation on the site, and it seems to be pretty effective.
Do you go through Forest View Road or Duval?
Duval. Yep. So
Okay.
we've been going through Duval. There's a little bit of a swath that was created, I think, when they were doing tree cutting way back when, and we utilized that as means of access for the soil testing, and we will plan to do that this week as well.
Okay. So I guess the question would be, would we have permission to look at the site, and is there anything that you'd be interested in staking? Because I'm looking at, and board, we can discuss, I'm looking at the 30th because that is when I have a piece of time. That's a Saturday. What does that look like for the rest of you? And then, of course, the developer, would we have permission to go on the site? And is there anything that you'd like to have staked prior to then, or?
Yeah, so, Madam Chair, so first and foremost, I would have to check with the owner, as I am the developer, not the owner of the site. So
okay.
I would hedge and say, absolutely, but I need to ask permission first.
I appreciate that.
So with that being said, I think it would be prudent for Wayne and I to connect, and along with our Scott, the engineer, and our surveyor. I do know our surveyor is looking out very far right now.
Okay.
But with that being said, I want to get you in there as soon as possible. So if, can we circle back with Madam Chair and the board by end of week?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let Steve know what their answer is. Let us know if there's other things you want staked. Like I said, right now I'm looking at the 30th just based on my own personal availability. I would also be willing to work. I could look into the morning on the 7th. Is also would be an option. I can explore the option of weekdays if we have to go to that. And I'm only avoiding going later into the year for our own sake in terms of the undergrowth, and for your sake, because I'm sure you guys would like us to see it earlier too.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So
yeah.
May 7th, can we hold a tentative date of May 7th, if that works for the board?
Yeah, let me see when my soonest commitment is there. Yeah, the morning, between 8 and noon, say, on May 7th. Or shortly after noon would be okay for me too. I don't know, Mark, I'm looking at you. Eric's nodding.
Yeah, early afternoon's actually probably best for me.
Early afternoon's better for you? I mean, let us know what makes sense for you, but yes, we can hold the tentative of May 7th. Yeah.
I believe I heard you say 8 to noon.
I said 8 to noon, and then we'd be willing to do early afternoon too.
Understood. We can make what works, whatever for the
it's best to do a time right now.
Okay.
If afternoon works better, we could do, does 1 p.m. work for the group?
I can't make it on the 7th.
Okay.
If I could suggest, Madam Chair, in the morning, As you know, down by wetlands, it tends not to be pleasant as the mosquitoes like to eat. And in May, you're going to have some mayflies, so if you did something maybe early afternoon, it is a little warmer, but it's probably a little bit more comfortable with respect to the attack of the pterodactyls. So I would be in favor of doing that as well. And I guess before we break away, I'd like to know, again, as Tim said, the surveys are out there 2 to 3 months at this point. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So I'd like to find out if I can wrangle a survey crew. Okay. What is it that the commission would like staked out so that we get some idea as to, I'd hate to venture down a road for survey staking and then find out it's not what you were looking for. Yeah. And I think in a perfect world, you'd say the limits of clearing. That would take about a month to do.
Understood. So what we usually get, what we usually like to see on a site walk, center lines of roadways provided as, because we'll have an information package that says how wide it's going to be. So if you can stake the center lines, we can envision how wide the street's going to be, and then center lines of driveways, and we know how wide those are going to be. And then something that distinguishes roadways from driveways, although we might be able to figure those. And then the corners of the proposed structures, understood that you don't have house designs yet and they're just kind of boxes. But like a rough box of where each dwelling is going to be. That's typically what we go on a site, that's what we look for in a site walk.
Yeah, I think again, and looking at the lengths of the road and the amount of time that would need to be allocated. Okay. I kind of, and I say this very respectfully, that to give the houses and driveways, I'd like to, if we could, again, and recognizing this assumes that we can get somebody out there, if the commission would be amenable to, let's say, 100-foot stations for the road, I would have them, not only stake it, label it, I might even have not only the station, but if I can get them to put the point number on it, and we have a road map, so to speak, to walk it so we know what the point number is, at 100-foot stations, and just flag the daylights out of the
crossings,
the stake location. Yeah, and then you see it. And I think as you walk something like that, you have the stationing on the plans. There's a driveway that comes off, 50 feet ahead of us that goes up to here. You kind of get a visual on that. We would be there too to answer any questions that you folks may have as to where does this come in, what's going on here as well.
Okay. And then, so if you're having stations that call out the lot numbers, please also call out, I guess, where the larger retention basins would be, as if it were a house number. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I do appreciate that comment as well. As I said, we do have flags in those areas because we're testing there. So I think we can have those point numbers also on the plan so that we'll know where to go to look for those basins as well.
All right.
So we have May 16th on the next agenda?
May 16th is our next meeting date, yes. I understand, and that assumes that we get a site walk on the 7th, which we're Eric, does 1 o'clock work for you? Okay, so I'm sorry that we'll miss Mark, but we'll have 3, so I hope that that's sufficient. If we end up doing May 7th, that's tentative. And we still got to look at the back material. I'd almost be interested, Steve, in looking, do we have a second meeting in May, or do we just have the one?
June 6th and June 27th.
Okay. So, board recommendation, do you want to go to May 16th, or do you want to just continue this to June 7th? Also, I would need New York concurrence as well. Do you think that we want to talk about these on May 16th, or do you think that June 6th would work better. It's on my list, I have it.
The May date would work best for us.
Okay.
I'm confident, given the 2 weeks, we can make whatever accommodations needed, getting folks out there.
I'm okay with going to May 16th, but I
All
would
right.
say that we should give this proponent less time on May 16th so that we can give
Then we have
people
today.
behind us that are now been waiting for hours and hours more time on the
Okay.
16th. So
All right.
give some limitations on it.
Well, then we, as
We
a
need to.
board, have to be prepared as to what we want out of that 16th meeting. Before that 16th meeting, so that we can get to that in the presentation, because a lot of this time I've spent at least answering questions that I didn't foresee having prior to this meeting, so.
Right.
Okay.
Madam Chair, question.
Yeah, name and address.
Almena Duval Road.
Okay.
What is OneDrive?
It is a Microsoft Office program that is a shared area for electronic files.
Is that something that we can get at?
Correct.
How?
There is a link through the town website, or Steve can email it to you.
So through your town website?
Is that, Steve, is that on the town of,
It's either, well, it was talked about, everything is going, isn't there a website that the developers utilize?
right, my concern is that doesn't follow the same route as public information. That's privately held website, that's privately held. The OneDrive is at least public information.
Sure, yeah, I mean, we can send them the OneDrive link, and they can just click on it to open up the folder.
Okay.
So just send me an email, conservation an email.
Oh, that's a good question, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that makes me concerned that if we're having to send people that upon request, is it open? Is it open to everybody? It doesn't appear to be if that's how we're getting it to people,
It should also be on the town website.
but it's not.
That's where it should be.
But is it on the,
No.
I'm not the developer for the
There's-
town of Douglas website, so I don't know.
No, OneDrive is not on the website.
OneDrive is not the public folder. If, you know, we have a
Correct.
public folder that they can come into the office and grab the folder.
The physical folder?
Yes.
So in terms of all of this information that we have, our real gold standard for publicly available information is a hard copy in the town hall?
It is.
Okay. Okay. No, my apologies. I assumed that we had a publicly available electronic source of information. Anything else? Yes, please, name and address.
Wendy Picard, 14 Conservation Drive.
Yep.
Am I leaving this with you? I don't want to overstep what I...
If you could, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy.
And again, that was from Conservation put together. It wasn't something I gathered or whatever.
Okay.
So it's public documents.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will entertain the motion to continue. Unless we have, Mike's made them,
Second.
seconded, sorry, to May 16th of 2022. We have motions been made by Mike, seconded by Mark, roll call vote.
Paragaris, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Thank you. All right, item 16, DEP 143. Thank you so much for your time here and answering all of our questions. We do appreciate it.
Well, thank you for yourselves as well. I mean, I know you have a long night ahead of you, and sorry for taking up so much of your time. Thank you very much.
Notice of intent,
Katie, Rick, I am out of time as well.
understood. for 105 and 123 Gilboa Street, CRG Services Management LLC, the construction of a distribution warehouse with a footprint and gross square footage of 102,500 square feet. Access is provided from Gilboa Street via bridge crossing the Mumford River from Northeast Main Street. Other improvements include vehicle parking, loading docks, and trailer spaces. Excellent. Whoever's presenting this item, name and address.
Good evening. My name is Todd Morey. I'm with Fields Associates representing CRG Real Estate. Address is 2 Park Plaza, Boston, Mass.
Thank you.
And I won't take up too much of your time because I don't have too much to cover. We did just get the peer review for the notice of intent this afternoon. Skimmed through it. I don't see anything major in there. We're still waiting on a peer review for stormwater from the BSC group as well. That hasn't come in yet. So once we have both of those, I think we probably have a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
Really, the only thing I was intending to present, and this is why I'm doing this via Zoom tonight rather than in person, is that we've been through a few sessions with the planning board, and one of their requests was to take a look at a left turn lane coming into the site. We did that. It does fit actually quite nicely. And as a result, our bridge got about 5 feet wider. I've got a graphic to show that if you'd like to see it, but it really doesn't change any impacts. It goes the abutment on the northerly side extends 5 feet. The abutment on the southerly side doesn't change at all. And that's really the only change I've got to report or discuss this evening. Like I said, we do have some peer reviews that are trickling in from BSC group traffic, which I'm assuming probably doesn't have a lot that you want to talk about. The notice of intent, which you certainly do want to talk about, and then the stormwater, which we're still waiting on, that I'm sure you want to talk about as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are all items that we want to talk about, but I appreciate you guys are working through those peer review comments.
Yeah, I expect the notice of intent one will have a response turned around this week.
Oh, that's great.
Back to you folks. And then stormwater, knowing what the design was and knowing what the standards were, and yes, we actually did use the Cornell study for the rainfall, so I don't have to go through that conversation.
Thank you.
On that. But knowing how that all worked out, I don't expect too many comments from them on the stormwater. But once those come in, we'll turn those around pretty quickly as well. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, my only thought is so you're making the bridge has to be wider to accommodate a left turn lane on the main road or on the bridge?
No, coming off the main road onto the
Okay. And because of that turning radius, you needed to make the abutment larger on one side?
Sure, yeah, and I can actually show that to you.
Yeah, if you don't, can we have, thank you.
Let's see. Get that one. How'd that work? You see something?
Yeah, looks great.
Oh, good. So,
excuse me.
Last time I presented this slide, which is really just how the bridge was going to be laid out and constructed. Went through talking about the installation of the sheet piles, micro piles, form the abutments, drop the girders on, and then pour the bridge deck over it. So this is actually it's skewed funny, but when we put the left turn lane coming in like this, the trailer drags across here. So you can see the island back. We're going to widen this out just a little bit. This red line is where we showed that curb line before. This black line is where we need it now. And then if you can see under there, you can see the abutment where we had it before is right where my pointer is now.
Yep.
And then what we ended up doing was extending it out to here.
Okay.
So again, this is the 2 sets of riverfront flag in this line with the triangles in it. So we're really we're moving parallel to that, I'm sorry, the bank line rather. We're moving parallel to the bank, and tip to tip here is about 5 feet. So that's the change that was made. On the southerly side, which is this one over here, you can see the abutment didn't change at all. And then right here on the westerly side, the abutment and the curb lines just didn't change at all. So I wish I had something more exciting, but I kind of don't. And then at the last meeting, we had tabled while we were still waiting for the peer review request. So I don't like to continue twice in a row.
Nope, I appreciate it. Wait, sorry, I missed what you said. You didn't want to continue twice in a row, but you do think that you will have material ready for
Can you
May
show
16th?
Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I continued last time is because we hadn't made this change yet, and I didn't have the peer review comments, so I really had nothing to add. So we continued. Coming into this meeting, we had that little tiny minor change, but up until this afternoon, I didn't have the peer review comments, so I wanted to at least present this and get this out of the way.
Nope, that's absolutely fair.
Can you go back to the main?
In front of the planning board Thursday evening as well. We have some traffic things to talk to them about and some other things. And then I would expect that by the next meeting with you, I will respond to both sets of peer review comments and we'll keep going.
Oh, awesome.
Can you go back to the main plan, or the main layout?
So those comments are in everybody's folders tonight, the peer review.
That one there?
What's the overall, like, site plan, project plan? I'm not seeing it yet.
That one there?
Yeah. Is there any provision on the plan for any open space?
Actually, all of this land up into this area here is all undeveloped.
And that's in Uxbridge, correct?
That's across the town line, yes.
Is there any open space in Douglas?
Nothing planned, no.
And what is to occur on that open space land? Anything in particular that you have planned?
Nothing, it will be left undeveloped.
So there's all these parking spaces, are those for employees or are those for trucks? And, or vans or whatever?
Yeah, hopefully this, actually, let me go back to that. So everything you see over on this side here, these are for passenger vehicles, and then we have a small number over here as well, passenger vehicles. These are trailer parking spaces. These are actual loading docks. And then mirrored on the other side of the building right here, loading docks and trailer parking on that edge.
And is there any fueling to take place on the site?
No. No fueling, no maintenance.
So are the parking spaces, the 638 on I think that's the northerly part of the site, are those like the vans that you use for deliveries, or are those for employee parking?
Oh, that's employee parking.
That's employee.
So we don't have any provision for vans for deliveries or anything like that. This is not you might be thinking like an Amazon last mile facility. This is not that at all.
Okay. Yes, that's why I was asking. Thank you.
This is not an Amazon last mile facility. How about that?
That's very clear.
I don't know who the tenant is. Yeah. CRG does not know who the tenant is.
Yep.
But I can tell you it is not an Amazon last mile delivery.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the sites, we actually do some work for Amazon. Their buildings usually aren't this big for the last mile deliveries, and the function of them is very, very different than what you see here. Because they have all the staging area and loading areas, and they're very different. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Nope, that's fair. So yeah, we're looking at the left side closest to where the Mumford River is. Well, and I know at that point it's a pond, right? Because we discussed, we got that zoned as a pond as opposed to a riparian zone.
Up until the dam, then everything, let's see, the barriers are, everything east of the dam is a river.
Correct, yep. I'm going to note this, and I will probably say it at the next hearing again if I don't see a change. I would like to see more open space left on that side next to that watershed. How much, I just don't have a scale in this match. How much buffer zone have you right now? I can see like 3 lines worth of buffer. That's 100 feet?
Yeah, this is a 100-foot buffer right here.
Okay.
And then you've probably got another between 60 and 75 feet to the roadway here. So this darker green is really kind of the off slope.
All right, and then just trying to get an eye, I like this plan a lot, so thank you. I'm just trying to get an eye for where the current end of work is here, and they're going back to here. We're losing a lot of that woodland space along the river.
Yes.
So you can't see me pointing, and I understand that, but.
I was gonna say, you need a touch screen so
right?
you can actually see it here, but.
But I mean, on your map, because you have the superimposed, the layout of the gravel pit, we can, because we did a sidewalk on that gravel pit, you can see the edge of the woodland, yes, right there. So to us, we're very conscious of the fact that we're losing a section of woodland that's essentially from this roadway up into that previous limit of work. And that's what we're going to be sensitive. We'd like to see more of that space left as conservation or open space land as a protection to that river. That's one of our major areas of concern right now. That's become a very high focus for the Blackstone Valley Watershed Association as a whole. With global warming, we see when you clear areas like that, not only are you losing habitat and resource area, you're missing the protections that keep that water clean and that keep that water cold. So if we could see, honestly, that space cut in half and the rest of that left for conservation as a buffer area, that's less maintenance for you as well. That's less stormwater management for this project as well. We would really appreciate it.
Well, I'll be honest with you, a lot of that parking is based on your zoning requirements. So I can work with CRG, see what we can do to cut some of that parking out.
Okay.
And pull some of that back. But I do know we're about 10% over parked from your zoning. So there is a little bit that can be cut without any planning board discussion.
So what's the zoning? It's based on the square footage of the building? Because my next step's going to be to tell you to reduce the square footage of the building.
Yeah, that I can't do.
Well, I figured you personally couldn't, but that's the kind of stuff that that's the kind of recommendations that we're going to make.
Okay. That's fair. So I will talk to CRG about that, but I'm not sure that we're going to get very far with a reduction on the size of the building. We meet all the zoning criteria, we meet all the space and bulk densities, and then the rest of it's up to us to make sure that we are protecting those natural resources that you talk about. Through whether it's stormwater management facilities, wildlife protection, if there are recognized habitats in there, and those different measures that are all part of the overall plan.
Yep, and I think your overall choice of layout is good. And like I said, I really like the way you put together the site plan, but we'll always ask for more space.
That's fair.
What does the lime green color represent on the plan?
So this color here?
Yes.
So those are the, I think I referred to it as off-grading. So off-grading / landscaped areas. So for example, we have the road here, and then
they're going to cut into that slope. Yeah,
there's various fill and cut slopes along this edge. So these get revegetated.
So is that a retaining wall along the driveway?
I think on that side we don't have a retaining wall at all. I think we have a retaining wall right up here.
Yep.
We have a retaining wall in a couple of spaces in this back edge here, but there's no retaining wall on this side. So this is just, like I said, this is just a slope. So you can walk from the edge of this down towards the pond.
Okay, but it does mean that your limit of work is right on the 100-foot buffer zone.
The overall limit of grading is right up close to that 100-foot buffer zone. That is correct. And then we have this area here, which is the compensatory flood storage. That's what that's kind of stuck in there.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you hanging out to answer those questions for us. If we have nothing, I'm sorry. This is also a public hearing. Does anyone from the public have comments on this site? Okay. I will entertain. Did you say you would be ready for May 16th? You did.
Yeah, so, yeah, as long as the stormwater peer review comes in. Like I said, we're gonna turn this notice of intent one around this week.
I mean,
Stormwater, I think we'll put to.
if you prefer, I can just put you on June 6th instead.
No, well, let's.
Okay.
16th. If for some reason that review doesn't come in, or we just don't have anything to talk about.
Just let us know, yeah.
We can always continue, yeah.
Okay, cool. Board, I'll entertain that motion to continue to May 16th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mungem,
KG Dudley, aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, have a great night.
Absolutely. I have to find a pen so that I can sign those two forms. I'm going to look at those forms. Don't think I have anything else for the official meeting.
Yeah, you have one more item.
Oh, so sorry. Let me find it again.
We do?
Of course we do. Of course we do. These never end.
We do? I thought it said.
Yeah, no, I do. Number 17.
It's not on the agenda.
Requested
Number
continuance.
17. I still have to say it.
Oh, yeah, right.
DP 14310XX, public hearing, notice of intent for 22 Conservation Drive, new dwelling on Lackey Dam Properties Incorporated. They've requested continuance for May 16th. I'll entertain a motion for that continuance.
So moved.
A motion has been simultaneously moved and seconded by Mike Greco and Mark Mungem. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mungem,
KG Dudley, aye. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Ha, beat you, Mike.
Second.
Made by Mark, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mungem,
KG Dudley, aye. Thank you guys very much.